Nice. Welcome, everyone. Please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So 6 o'clock, we'll call today's meeting to order, Tuesday, July 28th. And can we do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Larson,
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilmember Dan Hahn,
Present.
Councilmember Cox,
Present.
Councilmember Stubble,
Yes.
Councilmember Josh Hahn,
Yes.
Mayor White.
Present.
You have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Lovely. And a full house. Thanks. Great to see folks here. We appreciate that. Can we get approval of the agenda, please? A motion in a second. Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Councilmember Larson. No amendments are needed. So Councilmember Larson, call for the question?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. First up, we'll have the presentation of commendations to three of our amazing police officers, and Chief Was going to fill us in on just how remarkable their efforts were. Thank you. Oh, I don't think that's your mic's hot. Test. Yes.
So I've been vocal on appreciating our staff all the time, but even more so when they do things that are very far above and beyond. These three officers were dispatched to a call on July 21st of 2026. It came in as a medical emergency. It was a subject attempting to take his own life. Upon arrival, Officer Hanson and Officer Borchardt both were able to witness the actions of this gentleman attempting to take his own life. They were quick to move, quick to get him down onto the ground. At the time of their first contact, for all things medically considered, he was deceased. There was no pulse, there was no breathing, there was no nothing. These two gentlemen started CPR, started working with an AED. Officer McRae showed up. If you don't know, he's a paramedic. Their diligent actions and their work, they were able to get a pulse. They were able to get him back breathing before medics arrived. Got him into an ambulance, got him to our hospital, and got him life flighted out. I've been in constant contact with the mother. She's very aware of this tonight. She's very thankful and very loud to share the information. She's fine with it. The backstory is a 25-year-old male that was fighting addiction and had been sober for 211 days and fell into a hole. Each one of these gentlemen here tonight, their actions literally saved this young man's life. He's coming out of it. He will be released tomorrow with 0 brain damage, 0 any after effects. He's making a 100% full recovery. And that would have never happened without these three. They all are receiving the same letter. They're all receiving a red and white life-saving pin to go on their dress uniforms. The commendation reads, "This letter is to inform and commend you for your exceptional actions on July 21st, 2026. while responding to a medical emergency involving a subject attempting to take his own life. Upon arrival, you immediately recognized the critical nature of the situation. Without hesitation, initiation of life-saving actions to include CPR, your calm demeanor, sound judgment, and proficient application of life-saving techniques were instrumental in a time of a crisis for a family. It is important that you are recognized for your efforts and the impact it had on the family and our community. Your actions ultimately saved this person's life. Your response reflects the highest standards of law enforcement service and demonstrates professionalism, compassion, and dedication well beyond normal expectations. In a moment of extreme stress, you relied on your training and experience to act decisively, embodying the core mission of this department to protect and serve the community of Lander and Fremont County. Your conduct on this incident brings great credit to yourself, this department, and the law enforcement profession as a whole. Please accept this letter as an expression of sincere appreciation and recognition for your outstanding performance. This commendation will be placed in your official personnel file. Thank you for your continued commitment and excellence to service. If you don't know, this is Officer Ethan Borchardt, accompanied with Jason Hanson.
Y'all make us proud. True, yeah. Truly remarkable folks here at Lander PD. We are forever in debt for their service. We'll give them a time to exit before we move to the next part here. So. Thank you for making that happen, Chief. Much appreciated.
I'm the lucky one.
You got a great crew, no doubt about it.
Very much do.
Okay, next up is a public hearing concerning the application to transfer ownership and location of retail liquor license number 6 from the Wyoming Catholic College Food Service LLC, not sure DBA of what, but at 306 Main Street, Wyoming, to Solstice 12 Inc., DBA Baldwin's at 388 Main Street, Suite B, Lander, Wyoming. So we will open the hearing at, I've got 6:08. And so Rochelle, if you would introduce and read, and then we'll have public comment.
This application was received by the clerk's office from Solstice Inc. They have purchased the retail license from the Catholic College and wish to relocate it to the building that they own on 388 Main Street. And I do see that Paul and Carrie Gashevsky are here, who are the owners of Solstice Inc. This was advertised in the newspaper according to the statute. The State Liquor Commission has all of the documents they need, and from their end, they have cleared it.
Okay, great, thank you. With that, we'll open up to public comment. Absolutely. Yeah, sorry you're under the weather. just pull the microphone down and then press the little head icon. There you go.
How about that? Is that
Yep.
good? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. My best friend keeps telling me that I'm wasting my time, and truly, I decided not to share tonight. Not my best friend, but another guy, Lloyd Larson. He calls me the browbeater and says, "You're never going to get anywhere, Woolwine. You're wasting your time, boy." So, and I like Lloyd because we engage pretty good, have a good time going back and forth. But anyway, my best friend keeps telling me that I'm wasting my time, and truly, I decided not to share tonight. But early this morning, while watching and listening to a tribute to Senator Lindsey Graham, I heard one of his many wonderful quotes. He says, "Half the battle is just showing up. And it does not matter if you stand with a group or stand alone. If you believe in your heart you are correct, then show up." I was born in the state of Tennessee. Whereas Wyoming is known as the equality state, Tennessee's nickname is the volunteer state. Needless to say, being from Tennessee, one of my heroes is Davy Crockett, U.S. Senator Davy Crockett, who, by the way, after serving in the Senate from 1827 to 1831, and again from 1833 to 1835, a year later. Now, can you imagine any senators going back in the military and doing it? Anyway, a year later, on March 6, 1836, while fighting at the Alamo, he was either killed during the battle or captured and executed shortly thereafter. But one of Davy's most famous sayings is, "Be always sure you are right, then go ahead." So I decided to show up. After all, the opportunity of a lifetime must be seized during the lifetime of the opportunity. So here we go. So I think we just read the public hearing thing, right? So I don't need to do that. But so I wrote some folks here, the city leaders, and I said, okay. So this is about the transfer of the liquor license number 6. Okay, so I just went on a bike ride searching for 306 Main Street and 388 Main Street, Suite B. Well, I never could find 306 Main Street, but I did narrow it down to maybe a part of the Wyoming Catholic College, bunch of buildings and rooms, very poor address labeling. As for 388 Main Street, Suite B, that appears to be around the corner from Main Street and is right next to 388A, which I think is the Verizon place. I don't know. 388B appears to be something called LOR. So who on earth knows what is going on? Certainly not me. So the Wyoming Catholic College, with a pile of kids, 20 years of age and younger, I guess, had a liquor license. Is that correct? And now somebody wants to transfer that liquor license number 6 down to the LOR place. Is that correct? And if so, why? I mean, why on earth would a Catholic college need their own liquor license? I mean, if someone of drinking age needs a beer, why can't they go to one of the other 25 already existing alcohol places and get a beer? Or for some wine, how about Mr. D's or a Safeway? Okay, if anyone is brave enough to go on a 306 Main Street, 388B Main Street adventure, call me tomorrow and we will go see if we can figure out what is going on. Interesting. Thank you. Okay, I heard from no one, except for one. I heard from one, which I appreciated. And here's what I got back. Here's some information that might help. Wyoming Catholic College had a liquor license for both the catering business and for wine during the sacrament. The college wants to sell the license to so-and-so who owns a 388 building. LOR leaves at the end of the month, and Paul and Karen plan to go open up a restaurant. I responded, "Are you telling me that every church in Lander has paid $10,000 and an annual re-up fee of $1,500 so they can serve wine during Holy Communion? Are you sure about that?" So anyway, so I called 3 churches, and the 3 churches I called, no, we don't have any liquor license. No, I couldn't find another church has a liquor license. And why does a catering business need to serve alcohol? How about water, lemonade, iced tea? I hear what you are saying, and I appreciate the information, but really this alcohol nonsense is getting way out of control, way out of hand. I know that as blank, it is not your responsibility. I know Wyoming law makes it very clear that alcohol matters are clearly the responsibility of the city councils. Open up another alcoholic restaurant? Why? How about opening a restaurant that has tasty food? Ever notice how there's a nonstop line of traffic coming out of McDonald's? Our poor kids don't have a snowball's chance in a bonfire. I know why the city does it, $10,000 per license. Who cares about the health, welfare, safety of the kids, blah, blah, blah. So then I got another response, which I appreciated. A church always has the option to purchase alcohol for services at a retail store. I suspect that's what most churches do, or use grape juice, as many denominations do. For whatever reason, the Wyoming Catholic College decided at some point to have a license. Now, of course, they can't decide to have a license. They can decide to request a license. They just can't get one. You guys have got to give it to them. That's a question for their leadership. No, their leadership can say, we'd like to have a liquor license, but they can't get it. Apparently, that reason is no longer needed, hence the desire to sell the license. Likewise, it's not my decision whether a caterer should have a license to provide alcohol as part of their business model. You'll have to ask the various caterers in town why they believe having a license to provide alcohol is a desirable part of their business model. I responded, you are correct. It most definitely is a question for leadership, Lander leadership. If you study Wyoming law, you will quickly see that nowhere does it say churches are the leaders of the city that decide who gets a liquor license. If you'll study Wyoming law, you will see that in unincorporated areas, county commissioners rule the alcohol. But within incorporated areas like Lander, the city council is in charge of authorizing liquor licenses. Again, not churches, not lawyers, but the city council. The trouble is doing what is best. The trouble is you have to have a city council that is not afraid of taking a stand, doing what is right, doing what is best for kids. I know, $10,000 per liquor license and $1,500 renewal fee. That's a lot of money for the city of alcohol to give up for the sake of children. With that much money on the line, who cares about the health, welfare, safety, families of kids, et cetera, et cetera. You all realize that 60% of all regular city council meetings include dealing with one particular drug, alcohol. If you all are not renewing liquor licenses, then you're voting, and always without exception, in favor of new liquor licenses every time. Then, of course, you might allot time for the transferring of liquor licenses from one place to another, or from one owner to the next owner. Or how about voting on whether or not to change the official location of a liquor license from one DBA, I figured that out as doing business as, to another DBA. And then, of course, you guys always make time to endorse, support, encourage that drug festival you all apparently love so much. And then if you can't think of anything else to do concerning alcohol, you can always think of something like discussing the merits, the pros and cons of whether or not it is a good idea to allow drug users to walk around town in the middle of the day drinking from open containers of whiskey. So tonight, which of the above are you considering? Well, this is, as you know, it's a public hearing to transfer ownership of liquor license number 6. If you study the city fees, it becomes crystal clear why liquor licenses always take center stage. Rent a pair of ice skates, $4. Burial plot, I can buy one for $450. How about a burn permit? $50. Dog license, $20. Livestock permit, $100. But a liquor license, $10,000. You heard right, $10,000. Well, my recommendation for tonight would be this. Since we already have in existence, and we probably haven't done this in a while, we already have these places. I'm almost done. I'll give you my recommendation. Coulter Group, Gantt, Grillin, Lander Bar, Lander Brewing Company, Push Root Brewing Company, Molino Bistro. These are all places that serve alcohol. Liquid Courage, Whiskey Mountain Tasting Room, American Pizza Partners, Lincoln Street Bakery, El Sol de Mexico, El Vaquero 2, Elks Lodge, End Zone Bar and Grill, Lander Golf Course, LIK Maverick Motel Restaurant and Lounge, Maverick number 389, Middle Fork, Leaf and Jug, Mr. D's Food Center, the Oxbow, Safeway, Silver Spur Lanes, the Inn at Lander, One Stop Market, Paposia, VFW Post 954, Bailey Enterprises Pit Stop, Xander's, and Xander's Catering. So we've got all those places where we can already get beer and wine, whiskey, whatever y'all want to do. I don't know what y'all are, what y'all do. So, what would my recommendation would be this. How about if for the sake of our children, let's just do our children one time with this drug? You guys try something new. Simply do away with retail liquor license number 6. After all, if you do away with this one little liquor license, that will still leave 25 other places where people can still get alcohol. Thank you. And I'm pretty sure you guys are going to vote it right on through, but that's up to you guys. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, and hope you feel better. Yep. Anyone else for public comment regarding the liquor license transfer? You're welcome to, Mr. Kashewski.
Good evening, council, members of the city staff. My name is Paul Kashewski.
Don't think that's on. Or maybe you just need to be closer to it.
It is on? It is on?
There we go.
There, just got to step up. I appreciate the gentleman's comments, and I'd like to maybe answer to some of those. The Catholic College acquired the B&B liquor license years ago. The B&B had lost their rental agreement. So after many years, they were no longer in their facility. So there was a liquor license up in the air that was not being activated or sought after at that time. At the time, the Wyoming Catholic College had a very big catering department, and they would host, dinners up to 350 people, which was a real economic development for Lander. We could have game and fish meetings here. We could have all sorts of things. So it was a good thing to help Lander to draw people to Lander, but it was really a good thing for the college to help them grow their catering business. There was no bigger catering company in Fremont County at the time. So last year, the Bruce, who was the food service manager for years, retired, and so they got a food service group that does national food service for Catholic colleges all across the country. And so at that point, they decided that they didn't want to have anything to do with the liquor license as far as a liability issue. So at that point, the Catholic college needed to sell it. So that's when we entered the scene. And so we've got a building that's going to be coming open. The Lore Group, which you're all probably familiar with, sadly, is leaving Lander at the end of September. So we decided that maybe it would be fun to have a new place in Lander. We're not going to be a restaurant. We may have some light appetizers to start with. But primarily, we're going to be a very small, low-key liquor establishment that not only has regular alcohol drinks, but a lot of mocktails too. So I think we've had a liquor license before from 95 to 2000. I held the liquor license, which is now at the Cowfish. And that restaurant is now one of the best restaurants in the state. So these are not horrible things. They are good economic development tools that help grow Lander. and does employ some of our young folks that this gentleman is worried about their futures, but it's a good stepping stone. I started waiting tables when I was in college. So I think I'm sorry it's been vilified by him, because I think it's a good thing for economic development. It's a good thing for Lander, and it's a good stepping stone to help train people if they would like to get into the food service category. Maybe we can help them get on their way. So I just wanted to counteract any of the messages that he was sending, because it is a good economic thing for Lander. It prevents us from having another hole in our retail sector of Lander, and just a little background on how the license came to be.
Yeah.
So if y'all have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you coming to the mic.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the hearing at 6:25 and move on to mayor and council updates. And Councilmember Larson, we'll start with you. Oh, sorry, I skipped ahead. Communication from the floor. So this is the public comment section, so please approach the microphone and state your full name for the record. This meeting and comments are electronically recorded, and your comments will be limited to 3 minutes.
Got it. Hi, I'm Jackie Nelson. I'm a retired pediatrician. I worked out at Fort Washakie for a long time. I'm coming because I've become aware that the city council is having a new city ordinance regarding bikes, and specifically e-bikes. And so I want to give you just a little bit of added information and some of my concerns. I'm concerned about I've seen lots of kids riding e-bikes wicked fast. Most have helmets, and they do have the appropriate sort of motorcycle type of helmet, but they're not following the rules of the road. They're riding double. They're not on the correct side of the road. And I want to just give some background. Number one, the American Academy of Pediatrics, which I'm still a member, e-bike injury is the leading cause of ER visits in the first half of 2026. It's increased 150% year over year. Between 2017 and 2025, e-bikes had 155,200 emergency room visits and 301 deaths. Most of them were versus other cars or vehicles, and the e-bike lost control. So went a little further. The Consumer Product Safety Commission recommends children 9 to 12 not use e-bikes or not use products that can allow them to go more than 10 miles an hour. What are the odds of that happening when you're on an e-bike that has, most of them are 20, this kind of stuff. And sort of further recommendations, 12 to 15-year-olds, only class 1, which is the lowest. So they talk about class 3, which is full out throttle, and you can go 28 miles an hour. They must be at least 16 years of age. Just to add to the confusion, motorized scooters, they recommend not having those available for kids less than 16 years of age. Okay. So I have some recommendations and to consider, and I know that Mike Cusick.
Yeah, you've got a minute left.
Okay, I've probably got a few more words. I would recommend changing the rule, no bikes on sidewalks, nowhere in town, just because they're not on the correct side of the road. You can't see them. They're not watching. They don't have to be on the correct side of the road. And you don't necessarily see them. They're not necessarily looking for cars that may be coming up and turning into their road. So I think just to make it easier, no bikes on sidewalks. Specifically not e-bikes, because I really don't want to run into somebody going 20 miles an hour. Follow rules of the road, avoid e-bikes for 9 to 12-year-olds. And the issues with e-bikes, they have added speed, weight, and power, so that they just can't determine how fast they're going. And this is difficult for the police, but how are we going to ascertain if they're really following the 750 watts for their e-bikes? Yeah. So yeah, I would be happy to be part of further discussions.
Great, thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Come on up.
Thanks, Mayor, Council, and staff. Mike Cusick with Wyoming Pathways. I'm working currently with the Judiciary Committee of the Legislature on some statewide regulations for this very topic. We've submitted a judicial brief legislative brief on what we think should happen. I'll just read off some of these recommendations. I believe we should establish a statewide minimum for age and helmet requirements for Class 2 and Class 3 e-bikes with citation authority up to $750. And I'll send this to you if you'd like to see a copy of it.
Please.
Apply the full traffic code to e-bike riders in municipal settings. Just we all have plenty of anecdotal evidence on my street alone, on Cliff Street, which is a quiet part of town. There's certainly young people on e-motorcycles and Class 3s ripping around. And this isn't about, being the fun police at all. It's about safety. And obviously we don't need to have a tragedy happen before we take action. So I think that municipal code being applied would be very useful. Create a graduated fine structure for underage traffic violations with mandatory parental notification. California, for instance, we had a situation where a teenager killed someone on an e-motorcycle. His mother was cited for vehicular homicide. We don't want to see it get to that. We want to let parents know who are buying these devices, which is a convenience for the parents and a time saver for the parents and fun for the kids. That child's brain is not ready to make those kinds of snap decisions, and terrible outcomes have happened across the country. 3 more to go. Authorize officers to issue a citation for operating an e-bike in a manner that endangers a pedestrian or other cyclists. Sort of what Jackie was talking about with sidewalks and not stopping at intersections. Again, we see sometimes 3 up on a bike with no helmet, speed dragging inches above the ground on the way to Safeway on Smith Street. Number 5, allow officers to impound an e-bike operated in violation of age, helmet, or traffic provisions until a parent or guardian retrieves it. Number 6, establish a diversion pathway. I'm working with Whiteout right now and their safety team on looking at a certified safety course like we do for motorcycles in lieu of a fine for first-time juvenile offenders. And then I guess I have 7. Direct Whiteout to create a statewide e-bike crash reporting category. And again, I'm working with Sandra Sanderson out of Whiteout to start thinking about ways we can collect that data like we do for motor vehicle crashes. Essentially we're not too far away from tragedies. We see what's happening in Teton County. And the reason we're working with the state of Wyoming is each town has its own issues differently. My friend in Lovell, who runs the city, Jed Nabel, they had an e-bike hit a car. So they have an ordinance now where if you damage someone's vehicle, the parents are accountable. Every town has different issues. I think if we adopt something like this that would work statewide, we'd save a lot of lives, make our towns safer, and it would be useful for all of us. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And please do send the statistics. That'd be helpful. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else for public comment? Okay. Now seeing none, we'll move to mayor and council updates. And Councilmember Larson, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mayor. Been a lot going on at the senior center here lately. They have accepted a bid to paint the entire interior of the building. They've finished a review audit that was conducted by Mountain State CPA, and the individual that was reporting on the audit says that was one of the best audits that he's been at for a long, long time. He says top marks all the way through. Charlie Krebs has been elected as executive board president, taking Charlie Smith's place, and a change there. And then an update on the Mayor Monty Community Pig Roast was a great success again this year, and we appreciate the volunteer help that come from the National Honor Society, from the Scout Troops, the Cub Pack, and there was the Lander Pipe Band done a great job of just doing some entertainment there while we were getting ready for to do the feed there. And then just you have a bunch of just regular community volunteers that come in and help with an activity like that, and it's really appreciated. I want to thank the Lander Police Department. Boy, we've seen what a great bunch of guys they are here tonight, and they were there sponsoring the bike rodeo there on Saturday morning. I don't know that there was a whole lot of kids there, but there were I'm thinking 15, 16, something like that. But they all got some real good training and information, sort of like what we're discussing here with Jackie and Mike, on vehicle safety and bike safety. And so they did a great job there. We basically devoured 8 pigs. It was fun to have the community show up. and enjoy the festivities. It was fun to have Senator John Barrasso stop by for an hour or so. And overall, it was just, I thought, a very successful activity. I want to note that from the information that was received last meeting from the Juvenile Justice Services, it showed that there were 59 citations that were issued for juveniles last year for alcohol consumption and use. And boy, that's a sad state of affairs, you know, it just is. But something else that I would like to note is that none of the alcohol that was consumed by these youth was sold to the youth by any of the licensed vendors in Lander. The alcohol came from parents, from older siblings, from friends, from relatives. And I think that's all I've got.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Cassidy.
Mayor, council staff, just one quick note. Did an early morning tour of the golf course last week. Thank you for forwarding me that contact information from a gentleman here in town. If any of you get any correspondence from anybody about the state of the golf course, if you would forward that to me, I'd really appreciate it. On the tour, got a pretty good deep dive into the challenges they're facing, the costs associated with those challenges. And probably the takeaway that was most significant for me upon returning home and thinking about it for a couple of days is just, there's some things that they can control, there's things that they can't.
Yeah.
You know, one of those is weather, of course, and they are absolutely at the mercy of the weather, right? So the winter was very difficult for them in that it was very light and created some very significant damage to the grounds there. I have a lot of confidence that the guys that are working up there are working very hard to get it back as quickly as they can. I think we just, if we can, all give them a bit of patience and grace to do the best that they can. We've got some great people working up there to give a course to the community that they would really appreciate. So that was all for me. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Danhon.
Yes, I wanted to make a comment on that alcohol, the liquor licenses. I would like to see the correlation between the amount of liquor licenses in a town and consumed alcohol. I believe that if we had 50 establishments in town, people are just going to drink what they drink. I honestly do not believe that if we have 2 more liquor establishments, that means that there's going to be more I don't see the correlation between liquor licenses and the amount consumed. So for me, I understand the compassion he has, but I think that people drink what they're going to drink, and it has there's no difference on how many establishments are here. And that's just my opinion, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yep, Councilmember Cox.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor. Just a couple of thoughts that I had. First, our information chamber tomorrow is their coffee time, 7:15 at the Bali restaurant. If you have time to go to that, that should be a well-attended event. And I don't have any updates on LIDA. I was, one of my thoughts that I had prior to this meeting was developing a crisis team. And then then you had your wonderful presentation, and part of a crisis team would then be able to facilitate some referrals after an event for not only really for everybody involved, but primarily for the family and victims, if you will, and then also for responders, for first responders. And there's some really good models out there that make crisis teams very valuable within a small community. And I would be willing to take, the charge on that if you would be interested in something. We used to have one, and I can't remember when, but we did used to have one. So
If this is the appropriate time, Councilwoman Cox, first and foremost, yes, very much yes. I promise before this incident, we've been working on this. We have a meeting this week where we're meeting with Triumph to Trenches, the Celebrate Recovery, the adult drug court, and putting us all at the same table to start that process. We had a meeting today with Wascop and another company that's called Avelcare, that Wascop has given us freedom of no cost to the city to a 24/7, 365 crisis line to where we can put people on the phone with licensed professionals 24 hours a day. With that, the results will be emailed through a secured port directly to Fremont Counseling on care plans and how to move forward. So I guess my opinion is that's kind of where I'm headed. We're trying to set all the foundations of what our resources are, who's available and who's where, but yes, very much so.
Good. That's great. And then also, thank you for that. I would like to discuss, we're going to discuss it next in our work session, so I can hold off on that, but further discussion, including injury prevention. We just had two community members discuss for the e-bike ordinance that we're going to be talking about, and what our media strategy will be, and looking at this from a little bit broader perspective, because I know places all across the country are dealing with this very same thing. And it would almost be nice to have one of the manufacturers of these bike companies participate in the conversation as well, because they're driving the consumer and putting lives at risk. And there needs to be some accountability on the private business as well. They build them. If you build it, they will come, and they're building them, and kids are riding them, and parents aren't managing it. So it is dangerous. I appreciate both comments about alcohol, and I agree with you, Councilman Hahn. This is a unique situation that we have when we talk about liquor license, because it's private business, and it goes beyond consumption of alcohol and what's, you talk about economic value. I'm sorry to see that Chippewa Wine did not stay to hear your comments, but well heard. And I think you're right. I think we're looking at, we've had a really good response from our community liquor license holders. They're IDing, they're scanning IDs, they're not taking IDs that are not, I mean, they're really responding well. And so I really appreciate that, given my concerns. And so I do want to recognize that as well. That's, that is not where our juveniles are getting the alcohol. That's never been where they've been. Occasionally we get the Yahoo that's over there trying to get beer at the bar, but it doesn't happen very often. They usually get chased away pretty quick. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah, great. Councilmember Stubble.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 items to address tonight. So first, thank you to everyone who gave public comment tonight on the e-bike ordinance. We're at the advent of policymaking, which will, as we've seen through our robust discussion and debate on Title II, is the type of process that will have multiple steps for public input, and we need to hear from folks. We need to hear from users of the e-bikes, the parents who are buying them, the stores who are selling them, the folks who are encountering them on the streets and having concerns. And so I'm looking forward to, Mayor, to the first discussion tonight, and thanks to those who showed up and shared ideas and research, and keep it coming, right? Because we're going to get it right only through a ton of conversation with everybody in the community about making sure we have really safe streets, safe users of these devices, and are promoting a lander where there's a variety of ways to get around town on foot or on bike or on a variety of scooters and things that I don't use. So I'm going to get really awkward when we talk about the scooters. I will say, Mayor, that for my liaison assignments, the Energy and Environment Task Force met with staff last week and have agreed upon a changed sort of tempo and frequency of the collaboration with the city, just to match the degree of project availability, which is thin on the ground for the city right now. So E&E is going to branch out and is going to offer their services to the school district, and seems like that's been a productive starting place. The school district and Rocky Mountain Power have already been looking at making efficiency improvements around lights. So I won't speak in detail about their projects outside of my lane, but E&E has been an incredible provider to us. We'll see that in the report that they provide and in their conversations with staff. So thank you all the time you spent with them. And, I think we'll wish them well as they expand their horizons to the school district. And will still be available to us, but just on a changed frequency and tempo. less meetings, frankly, and, more ad hoc work as it comes up. Then I was a poor substitute for you, Mayor White, at the Fremont County Association of Governments meeting. And so I'm going to give a report out, though, from the business of FCAG, and Councilman Cassidy, who also attended, and Assistant Mayor, please jump in, correct me as I run through the conversations from that meeting on July 23rd. FCAG was considering and is making progress upon adding in representation from the Eastern Shoshone and the Northern Arapaho Business Councils. And we didn't make a vote on that at the July 23rd meeting, but are anticipating getting the resolutions from both business councils of their interest to join. And then to make the amendments to the FCAG Joint Powers Agreement to say these are two additional members that we want to see. So really heartened to see that progress. I know that's probably been talked about long before my time even here, as a opportunity for collaboration among the various governments, and recognizing those are sovereign nations, but the collaboration potential for the joint services that we all work on here in the county. I'm glad to see them joining FCAG. So the official agreement not changed yet, but will soon once we see those resolutions from the business councils. The FCAG is reviewing the board governance policies and put that towards a work session that will be reviewed in the coming weeks, and then future adoption at their next board meeting. There was a slight revision to the financial policy to catch a typo that passed. The personnel handbook, funny, which is like the theme apparently of governance in Fremont County right now, since we are also doing that. And we went through our police handbook as well. But the FCAG personnel handbook revision was brought forth and will be work sessioned instead of voted upon. So we tabled it at the 23rd to go to a work session for future discussion. So that'll be back in your hands. Good luck. And then FCAG endorsed the WRTA service reductions. And I want to sit on that for a minute because there is an impact here to lander residents and to our business community because of a really shocking reduction in federal transit funds and the fact that local match shortfalls from governments like ours have resulted in some deficits for WRTA. They're pulling back services on 2 fixed route lines. For Lander, that means the removal of the stop at 1st and Amaretti and at 8th and Washakie. And then the Knoll stop just down the street here will move to 3rd and Main and will be by request only instead of a standing stop. So seeing those deficits largely because of federal funding and then loss and then the uncertainty around local matches. Real service reductions. And it's going to hit people, in our community who are trying to get back and forth to school, to their jobs, to their family members. And so I know everybody is sorry to see it, and WRTA staff put a lot of, I can't imagine, incredible research and depth into this much money now. What services can we still provide? Where are we going to make some really hard cuts? And the board ultimately endorsed is the word, right? Not to get too much into the operations, that move. Then another hot ticket item from FCAG was an update from the RASIC committee, the Regional Ambulance Service Evaluation Committee. One action here and then one future action would be taken. There was a grant application for the Rural Health Transformation Fund. I'm trying not to do the acronyms. And that was authorized to be submitted by FCAG to pursue that funding opportunity. And what we didn't take action on was to assign FCAG as the lead EMS entity for the county. So there's still discussions around moving the county as a lead EMS entity to FCAG as a joint powers board, which I think is, speaking personally, going to be a pretty improved idea to have a joint powers board oversee that critical service and not just the county. I think there's lots of positive developments in that direction, but there was future conversation to be had, Mayor, so that decision was not made at FCAG. And a gentleman named Kyle Schultz with a great deal of expertise was added to the RASIC committee. But there was a recognition that RASIC's charge is probably coming to an end. And as we evolve the delivery of service of EMS in the county and through a joint powers board like FCAG, perhaps another advisory committee needs to be formed. So RASIC might be sunsetted and a new one come to birth. But those conversations were not finalized either.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything, Councilman Cassidy? Okay, great. There's a lot of incredible business happening in that group. So it was a real privilege, Mayor, to be there in your stead. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for attending on my behalf. Thank you. Councilmember Josh Hahn.
Councilman Stu will set enough for everyone.
Okay, my turn. A few things there. So met with Chief Sywick at City Park. So the training module that the fire department has both fundraised for and has received donations for is hoping to be placed later this summer, early fall. So looking at what all that entails, but it's going to be a great opportunity for them. And so folks know it will also make a change on that southern end of the training area, kind of the entrance between the two ball fields. You'll see some changes as that happens. Ultimately, that ties into not only having this great training module for them to be able to use, but as part of that negotiation about placement for it, I think it's going to make a better opportunity to have some more structured parking between the two ball fields and long-term make some safety improvements that I think are appropriate to have between transfer back and forth of kids going back and forth and trying to remove that part away from parking lot area. So safety is, as well as personnel policies, seem to be a continuing theme for us. So excited about that. On May 10th at the community center is going to be the Challenge for Charity Lander Community Foundation Check Award. August 10th, the 54 nonprofits that were participating this year. Incredible opportunity to see the generosity of the Lander community and what these nonprofits do for quality of life in Lander. Change in the location and format a bit. They're encouraging each of the nonprofits to showcase what they bring to the community. So please go and be learned and impressed by what nonprofits bring to the Lander community and the generosity for that. It was part of the housing group workshop follow-up about what next steps are for the housing community, and Regine can speak a little more to that in her update for that, but appreciate the chance to be there for it. Also today, I mentioned in our last meeting that the Business Council has been helping us understand that there's the opportunity for 5 more potential census tracts to be added to the Opportunity Zone 2.0. And so Regine, myself, Patrick Edward, and individual from Cheyenne looked at whether or not we can get a portion of Lander to be included again in 2.0 that was included in 1.0. I think it's going to be a bit of an uphill effort for that, but it's worth trying. Deadline is coming up soon, so the process would be creating what we hope is a compelling argument to present to Business Council and Governor Gordon. He would then present that up to the U.S. Treasury, and they are ultimately the decision-making body for that. But certainly worth trying if that helps for both business development and housing development for us, because it would include the business park, Lita Business Park, as well as the acreage that's dedicated for housing for that. And then lastly, last night was a second meeting of the broader stakeholder group for the Bruce Grizzly Aquatic Center. It was a good, productive, and upbeat meeting for that. Still looking at some pretty high level potential steps to provide more stable funding for the pool, but really nice to be able to have folks back in the room, understand a little better the challenges that the school district faces for these kinds of facilities and how the community can step in and help. So hope to have more information soon on that, including how the $25,000 that council has put forward to the pool can be used to expand the recreational opportunities at the pool. So looking to get some information about, rather than just place the money into the general operating fund, what can we do to open up or reopen up some of the hours of operation for Rec Swim for that. And that's it on my end for it. So we'll turn to staff and starting with you, Chief.
Mayor, council, thanks. I don't have a whole lot. Councilwoman Cox did a great job of covering what I had wrote down in regards to crisis care, mental health. It's been my goal to build relationships and or fix ones that have just gone awry with other entities. With that meeting today with WASCOP and AvelCare, I have second meeting with Fremont Counseling to bring them to the table too. Our goal is to, much like our domestic violence pamphlets, is to build substance abuse pamphlets, crisis care pamphlets, just information that our guys can have on them all the time as we deal with these calls at the surface value at the very beginning of breaching them with information of what outlets and resources they have and they have available to them. I'm pretty excited to have multiple entities at the same table. I believe in face-to-face meetings, you accomplish a lot more than emails and or Zoom meetings. So we have filled our open position. You guys will meet him August 11th meeting. He will be sworn in for you. He's a local kid. He's actually a current deputy with the sheriff's office that's moving over to Lander Police Department. August 15th is our end of summer bash at the city park. We finalized some things today. I would recommend it to anybody and everybody. Lander Fire will be there, we'll be there, Fremont County Sheriff's Office will be there, Highway Patrol is going to be there, Game and Fish is there, the National Guard's coming there. They're probably going to steal the show because they're bringing a lot of big trucks and launchers and an 18-foot water slide and a bunch of other things.
Nice.
We'll have food trucks there, so we've really put some work into kind of this last weekend of the summer before everybody goes back to school. We can get together and see a lot of cool and neat things. So one thing I wanted to address briefly is, again, thank you so much for your approval of our new iPro system. We actually already have the equipment on site. We are scheduled within the next 30 days or less to have them here and install all of our software and cameras and everything up for us. There was a little bit of back and forth what originally was going to cost. They did some mismathing. I sat on it. If I'm being honest with you, I channeled my inner Scott Peters negotiation tactics. Spent some time on the phone with them, and it's actually going to be $12,000 a year less than you guys had originally approved. So outside of that, I have nothing unless anybody has any questions.
Great. Any questions for the chief? Yeah. Yep. He really did channel us inner Scott Peters. I got to witness some of that. Okay, Lance.
Yes, Mayor and Council, just project updates for me. Jefferson is at substantial. And so we're doing a few replacement of cracked concrete, just minor items, and still waiting on Rocky Mountain Power to set the new poles. So that's Rocky Mountain Power pole agreements we pay separately. That's not metered through the city's meter, but if a bulb goes out or something is damaged, they'll come replace that. So we're close on Jefferson Street to opening that up and being complete. You'll see final pay estimates and reconciliation change orders and such next month is what we're hoping for. Lincoln Street got an update today. They're thinking they're going to continue through next month. So I said, end of August, is that where we're at? And they said, yeah, that's what we're hoping for. And so as we talked about, they're in the LD liquidated damages phase of that contract. And the sooner that gets complete, the better. But they're working on 9th Street utilities. Hopefully we see pavement on those blocks behind them soon, is what we'd like to see. There's businesses being impacted and, starting to hear the noise a little bit, which is understandable for as long as the road's been tore up in front of some of those businesses. So hopefully that's done soon. And then Buena Vista is getting kicked off. They did put the road closures up, and heard from business owners our communication wasn't as good as it needed to be. So I got involved in that today to make sure that we're getting direct communication with the contractor engineer and then the city as needed to make sure we're meeting people's needs on that project. It's going to be, a couple years here, so we want to make sure that we're getting people to where they need to go, can access their homes, businesses appropriately, and they're really trying to route traffic around to 2nd Street to take the load off of how much traffic really does come through Buena Vista. So if you hear anything, any feedback on that, let us know. That's going to be a complicated job, and it's going to get even more complicated the higher we move up towards the hospital.
Yeah, it is. And thank you again for jumping right in when folks expressed concerns about not getting enough or appropriate notification from the contractor for that. I appreciate that. And this is going to be, again, because of the nature of it, we really need the contractor to just be dog on a bone about making sure everyone along that road is informed.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah. Questions for Lance? Okay, Regine.
Thank you, Mayor. Since you mentioned the housing update, the Community Housing Forum, if you missed the one last time, we're going to have another one. So you should all be getting a poll, and community members, chamber members, and nonprofits alike should be getting a poll on a meeting for September 21st or 22nd. So when you guys get that, please fill that poll out, and we're trying to get a critical mass of our community at the second and last meeting of that community housing forum. Report from Mike Cusick. The 3-hour bike show might not have looked really busy, but they did have about 60 participants in that bike rodeo. So thank you to Ryan Parasini and the police department and Ann, our community development coordinator, for putting that on. 3 really short grant updates that you guys have already approved in the budget. The senior LED upgrade at the senior center is going to start here in a couple of weeks, and that comes out of the facility maintenance funds, and it did have an incentive from Rocky Mountain Power for WattSmart. So not a grant, but an incentive program. The Wyoming Outdoor Recreation and Tourism Trust Fund grant that we applied for design of a fishing pond in City Park was not granted. So we will be looking for other avenues to see if we go forward with that project. The other one that is in the budget was the unmet housing needs. Remember, we were awarded $500,000. In the budget is $300,000 of 1% funds. I already have 2 eligible applicants, 1 subdivision and 1 building permit, that might be able to get our first test run on access to this funds. So that's all I have.
Great, thanks. And I'm not sure which was, maybe this is Lance going back to you, but really appreciate the clean out of McManus Park and mitigating some of the fire fuel buildup for that. So that was great that we got that done.
Yeah, and it is great we got it done, but I think we realize there's a lot more in there
Yeah.
as far as material. That was a lot of work they did, but there's
still more.
more to do. And this was a good way to do this. I guess in the future, calling on labor like this and working with the university, maybe that's something we can investigate in future years of continuing that program to continue fuel reduction and improvements in Lander.
Yeah.
We would have taken all of our staff to pull off and try to do a project like that, and I'm not sure we would have gotten as much done in that time frame, and everything else would have been neglected. So it's either contractor or a program like this in order to bring down fuels and get things performing better and hopefully reduce fire potentials.
Right, absolutely. Councilmember Stubble.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, back to our assistant mayor. The unmet housing needs pool, awesome to hear that we already have interest. I feel like I might have missed a step though. Do we have the structure set up for evaluating who we're going to spend that on, and how are we making that decision, where that lands?
What we have is a staff application that will go through a process just through staff.
Okay.
So that's something that we have $800,000 total to spend over 3 years. We have capped the availability to $50,000 to any one builder or subdivider. So like I said, these will be our first 2 test cases, 1 permit and 1 subdivision. So if we need to revise that application and evaluation period, we can do that after these.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Mayor. I think, do you mind sharing that? I just love to have eyes on it, not to provide input or anything, but be aware of what we're using. I hate
Sure,
to say the word
for future update.
but yeah, future updates would be great.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I'm hoping it's, we're attracting so much interest, so we want to choose the most competitive projects, not the first in the door necessarily, but there's a line of getting the money out to and getting the work done. So thanks. Yeah, would love to be looped into the detail.
And if you'd like to look at the priority structure that we made, get a hold of me and I'll get that to you.
Thanks. Yeah, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Mayor, I just have a
Yep, Councilmember
just a follow-up on that, Regine. Would you be able to just provide that to the council with what that structure looks like so that we're aware? I mean, we do get fielded with some questions. And it would be nice to have as much information as we possibly can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Christy.
I actually am feeling a little under the weather, so I am not going to give you guys a report. I might even duck out a little early. We'll see how long I can last. So sorry, but I am working. I show up every day and I work really hard, but I don't have a
You
lot
do.
to report. It's a lot of tedious stuff. It's accounting stuff. It's not fun to report like everybody else's fun projects. But working on auditing and catching up with grant stuff, but a lot of hard work trying to get everything caught up and where I need to be. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. And again, if it makes most sense to duck out and head home, please do.
I'm feeling well, but I'm going to duck out.
Great.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't have anything to report tonight unless people have
I'm
any questions
shocked.
for me.
Okay. And Rochelle,
I have nothing unless someone has questions for me.
any questions for Rochelle? Okay. We'll move on to section 8, new business action items. So this is approve the transfer of ownership and location for retail liquor license number 6 from Wyoming Catholic Food Services LLC at 306 Main Street, Wyoming to Solstice 12 Inc. DBA Baldwin's at 388 Main Street, Suite B, Lander, Wyoming. Can I get a motion in a second?
So move. Approve.
Sorry, I got the motion from Councilmember Larson and then, okay, and then Councilmember Hahn. And first, we're going to start, Rochelle, you've got some info for us.
I would just like to point out to council that this would be very similar to Wind River Pizza at this point in time. So the council could move to approve it, and we would let the state know that the council approved it, but the license itself would not be issued until the establishment is operational.
And do we need to include that in our amendment or simply noting that that's part and parcel of?
It's probably a best practice
Okay.
to amend and
To make
so
that
that it's very
amendment.
crystal clear.
Okay. So we
Mayor,
got our marching orders.
Yeah, can I ask a clarifying question on that before we make a movement? This feels, correct me if I'm wrong, different though from Wind River Pizza, which was a restaurant and or bar or grill. This is retail. So if we were to make this contingent upon the operations of the 388 Main Street site, would that prohibit them from using it as a catering license? It feels like it's a different apples to oranges here on the type of license.
They wouldn't be able to come in and ask for a catering permit until they're operational. I'm not sure what you mean by catering.
Well, I don't know how to define that better. Sorry to be.
So do you
yeah.
mean once they're operational, can they use the liquor license in a catering function?
That's correct.
Right, but not operational as a entity of the bar necessarily, right? Like, how are we defining operational? Because there's gonna be two uses for this license of an open establishment, which we're saying we want to wait until you're operational as an open establishment. But they could be offering catering right now through a retail license.
So they have to have a structure where they're open and in their application, which is in your packet, they contemplate what days and times they're going to be open. And so my understanding is that the Kashevskis are going to do some remodeling in the building. And so they'll have to provide a food service permit. And I don't believe that the food service permit was part of your application yet.
At first will just be strictly just the.
Right. And it.
We're hoping to do some catering prior to the open, just to, that also, some other local business, do some things, generate some cash flow, we're doing the top. Just to keep this going.
Okay, I was
Yeah, there's
unaware of that second part, that Kevin didn't convey that part to me, that you wanted to do catering, come in and ask for catering permits, because you have to be operational to get a
To do the
catering
catering.
permit. So, but a retail license certainly is the only license that can ask for a catering permit, that you have to be operational. So then food service permits are required because under Wyoming state statute, alcohol is considered food. So that would be something that the State Department of Ag would probably be looking at issuing for you. So when all those pieces are put together, then we could issue the permit. You can approve it tonight, but when everything is completed and submitted, then it can all come together and be issued.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So it's similar to Wind River Pizza in the fact that they're going to, there's remodeling and things that need to happen before a license could be issued. And that it partially is the food service permit from the Department of Agriculture. Because it doesn't have anything to do with food in the sense that you chew, it has to do in the sense with food that you drink.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mayor,
So-
thank you. I mean, yes, and perhaps I'm being a little dense and slow, so forgive me if so. I guess I want to, how do we define operational for catering to be possible? I don't want to tie that to saying that the whole remodel for an open establishment of the bar needs to be
They
done.
have to be operational in order to get a catering permit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, sorry if you're finding out a change in plans for this, but, okay. So I think before we vote on, it, we should have an amendment noting that the permit won't be issued until they are fully operational. Anyone make an amendment?
So moved. Not to say representative, but Councilman Larson is pointing at me to make that amendment. Yeah. So approve, well, we're making an amendment. So I move that we approve this pending securing the necessary permits to be operational. Is that correct?
That would be fine. And let me also clarify, because they're not doing food, what the state may require for you to get your food service permit would look probably very different than a restaurant. So, you think of your packaged liquor stores, they get food service permits too, but those requirements are different. They don't have concerns about sanitizing dishes and food and things like that. So it's possible that you could talk to them and they could issue that permit before you're completely ready to open your doors and accept patrons to come in.
Yeah.
Because that would be fine. But
Yeah.
you do have to have certain hours where if you do that, Paul, you might want to consider allowing someone to come in and buy a bottle of beer. Because then you have operational hours. Does that make sense? So I think there's a way to work with the department, and I'm certainly happy to talk to you.
Yeah.
And we can work it out.
Does that amendment create the necessary, it's
Yes.
vague enough to have that allowance?
It does.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so we got a motion. We need to get that seconded, please.
Second.
So moved by Councilmember Stubble with a second by Councilmember Josh Hahn. Can we vote on the amendment, starting with you, Councilmember Josh Hahn?
Yes.
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 Great, that passes. And now can we vote on the license as a whole? Any other question?
Mayor,
Okay.
please. Oh, great. At the risk of talking quite a bit here, I just want to, some folks to address in their updates, I'll just add to that, thank you for those, for investing in Lander with a new business. We're part of a pretty major debate that we should be in around making sure that alcohol is dispensed and as safely as possible, that abuse is, managed and prevented. But again, for me, this is a separate conversation from a responsibly run business. And I personally am just thrilled always to see that downtown Main Street buildings are not empty. I don't want any buildings in Lander empty either, but particularly, a robust Main Street and downtown is so important to us. So I'm grateful to see folks still expanding businesses inside Lander.
Yeah, agreed. And we've seen your work before, so we know what to expect. Not that we're trying to set the bar too high, but the bar is set high.
Literally.
Yeah. Okay.
Trying to get the bar open.
Councilmember Larson, call for the question.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And motion passes. Item B, authorize mayor to sign Lander Municipal Airport hangar space land lease agreement for 511 lease with Ed and Lana Hanson. Get a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Larson and seconded by Councilmember Cassidy. It's a pretty standard lease agreement. Are there any questions from folks? Okay, seeing none. Councilmember Hahn, we'll start with you.
Yes.
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 Motion passes. Item C, approve and authorize the mayor to sign task order 2026-01 under contract number 260028 between the City of Lander and Ardura Group, Inc. for apron reconstruction, bidding, and CA services project. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Stubble with a second by Councilmember Cox. Lance, I've got you as a point person to give us the background on this, please.
Yes, Mayor and Council. Councilman Cassidy had a good question before the meeting, and so I just was going to go over that. The construction-related services come under a cost plus fixed fee. versus a normal rate, engineering rate fee. So those are negotiated differently. So if you look through the packet, you'll see direct labor costs of the engineers plus their overhead, and that's audited before when they start working with the FAA looks into their financials, determines their overhead, and then the fixed fee is a percentage. I believe it's 20% in this that they're allowed to make on the project. So you're seeing two different rate schedules from the same engineering firm, one to do bidding services and other professional services. The other one is when they get into construction and their subcontractor, it's that cost plus fixed. And I'm happy to explain that more. Does that answer your question, is kind of what we're looking at there on the two different rate tables that they provided based on the phasing?
It does a little bit. I'm not sure what page, there's one at the bottom, it says page B-2. It also says page 32. It's exhibit B, basis of cost analysis. Looks like that. There's two of them back to back.
Yeah.
So which one, your page 32?
Yes, so
That
it
must be
shows,
the agenda Packet.
And
Is
the
that
agenda.
32 is in the agenda packet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
so the first one, and they look very similar, but the first one shows hourly rates.
Yes.
And in some cases, they're like 4X on the first page from the second page.
Yep.
And then the page immediately following that is more of like an Excel sideways document. And it shows standard billing rates versus cost billing rates. And that's where I kind of got hung up on it.
So the standard billing rate is actually what they're paying. If they broke down their salaries of what they're paying their engineers, that hourly rate or those individuals on each one of those items is what they're paying. And then they tack on, based on their audited amount, the overhead. And so that overhead amount is the negotiated, like the 167.97%. If you see that, that's the big item to run their business. They've been audited by FAA to do that. And then their sub total labor. And then the fixed fee, that's their profit they're making from all of that, is the percentage, which I believe that's 20% of that overall amount that they're allowed to have. So they're breaking it down in the construction related services to the actual direct costs of that company and those fees. The page before is their standard rate fees. That's what, if we went to them and said, hey, we want to get you to do X, Y, and Z, and you had to have a principal and a project manager, those are the rates they'd hand us on their rate sheet and say, these are our current rates for those billable hours. And you're just seeing that difference between like bidding and services that aren't negotiated versus construction, where FAA requires that cost plus fixed fee, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And so the FAA reviews these. They do a third party, another firm has to go out, give us an estimate of what they think it would cost, and then it has to go through the entire process to be recommended for us to see it at this level and approve it. We pay 4% of construction-related services and engineering services for the project.
And the 4% is coming out of the funds earned from the fuel sales.
Yes.
This is not out of general fund.
Yes.
Councilmember Larson.
Quick question, is Ardura, is that the engineering firm out of Cody?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Used to be
Just
TO.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right,
In
thank you.
GDA. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I did want to comment the 50 days that they mention of total time. Are they pretty close to that?
As far as getting everything executed and under contract, where are you seeing that exactly?
Oh geez, it was in a couple of spots. And it's based on memory, so, second page, 22 of the document. And it actually breaks down 50 working days, primary RPR, 42 12-hour days, 8 14-hour days, which is paving. The only reason I ask is because we're paying per diem and lodging within that contract. And so in the event that it goes over, then, those daily rates are obviously going to go up too. I just wondered what our experience is with them in adhering to the timeline.
I mean, I think this is all just an estimate at this point, but timeline wise, we're hearing more that the project is going to be a next year's project altogether. And so I think if Century comes in and they hit this all in one piece versus breaking up any of their construction, I think that that's more likely to get closer to consolidated number of days in a short period. The contractor is paying those fees and lodging as well. So the longer they're here, that's more profit that he didn't make when they're paying for all of, so they're motivated to be quickly, as quick as possible as well. But there is some scheduling discussion when these fee estimates are put together, but you're still taking an estimate as far as what you're going to run into and how long actual construction is going to take.
Can I ask, and maybe this is out of pocket, so forgive me if it is, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the priority of this project?
Priority.
Is it a must, like it's an absolute 10?
Yes, the FAA is dictating our project schedule of musts on the airport. And so this is a must. It's not elective other than the bid alternatives. And so the spaces that are alternatives are not huge costs, but it's in between hangars where you have the off of the apron where it's just hangars. They're paying for the drainage portion of those projects, but we're paying for the restoration portion. And so it wasn't much of a fee. We wanted to break those out. We're still getting funding for those areas. But the priority is the apron and the taxiway relocation. So you'll see the big chunk of that being necessary, and then the next phase being the rest of the taxiway. So hangars will have to be moved, and then the extension of the taxiway to become compliant with FAA rules at the airport.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
You're welcome.
question. Councilmember Cassidy.
Lance, I do have one additional question. There's some fence work in there in the bid. Is that exclusively associated with the apron area?
It is. There's gates and
Yes.
fence along that and drainage issues. So they're correcting some of the drainage issues, and I think having to do some fencing improvements along that area.
Okay. When I went up to the golf course with them last week, I think, that airport is not secure at all.
You're saying between the golf course hole and the
Yeah, there's
the lap
spots
fade.
where you can get on the airfield pretty easily.
Why don't we take a look at that? and
I'd
see
love
what we can
to.
do
I'd love to, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
Great. Any other questions on this one? Okay. Seeing none, call for the question, Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
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 Motion passes. Item D, approve pay request for draw number 3 for Jefferson Street Extension CDBG grant project. Could I get a motion in a second, please?
So moved?
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Cox with a second by Councilmember Larson. Regine, I've got you as our point person for this. Give us the overview on this, please.
Thank you. Mayor, if I may, I'll talk about D and E together. These bills for contract payments after we've been under contract are normally in your bills and claims, so you don't see them broke out separate. Because of the, like Lance said, the substantial completion timeframe and the completion of Gannett Peak, they ended up on a voting session, but we're not running them through next 2 weeks from now, bills and claims. So they are out of sequence, but they would normally be a bills and claims.
Okay. Any questions on at least item D for Regine on this one?
Christie left, $492,000-ish.
Yep, 492, 689, and 12 cents. Yep. Councilmember Josh Hahn, yes.
Yes, so that's the portion we're paying as a city for this grant?
I can't answer that. This entire project is $1.275 million of grant and $400,000 worth of city contribution. Where we are at in that payout and grant reimbursement, I cannot tell you without Christy being here.
400,000 as a city contribution to the grant. Is that all coming from general fund or is it, that's split up? Isn't it?
That's a great question. That is $200,000 out of 1% and $200,000 out of our enterprise funds. So basically that means, let's see, I'll see if I can do math. 1.244. So it is a $1.675 million total project cost. And for about 30% of that will be lander funds, and the other 70% is grant.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I think I've got a different piece of paper than may have been in the drive for that. And what I see from this is this would be drawing down on the grant.
The grant is almost expended, so
Yeah.
I can't tell you exactly
Yeah,
where that falls.
but- Yeah. Yep. So, any other questions? Okay, can we call for the question? Starting with you, Councilmember Han.
No.
Yes.
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 And that passes. Okay, item E, approve pay request number 4 for Gregco for substantial completion on Gannett Peak Safe Routes to School project. So again, a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Stubble, seconded by Councilmember Cox. Regine, this again is you. So this is the phase 1 of Gannett Peak. Yeah, questions for Regine on this?
I don't have questions, just a comment about, I just went back a little bit a few years ago and was making some comparisons to cost, and it is astronomical. It is so
Expensive.
much more expensive
Yeah.
now than it was. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't do the percentages because it was making me a little bit sick, but
Yeah, understood.
well, the cost as it was 8 years ago versus today, it's just astronomical.
I mean, our top 10 projects have more than doubled in cost.
Maybe more, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, by the time we get to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
them, it will likely be more still. Agreed. Challenging. Any other questions on this? Okay, Councilmember Larson, call for the question.
Yes.
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 That passes. Item F, approve Gannett Peak change order 3 for final in-place quantity adjustments per contract. A motion and a second for that, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Councilmember Larson. Regine, we just got our time with you.
Okay, and if I don't say this right, Lance will have to pop in. Basically, at the end of every contract, when we are closing it out, we make adjustment for unit prices that were put in place. They bid a unit price, they give us a total bid, and if it goes over that unit price, then we do pay them the differences as verified by an engineer. So this change order will incorporate all those price changes.
And so the price changes the $8,472.30.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, any questions on this? Councilmember Cassidy.
The next line, 2 lines down, the increase in this change order, 33,424.
Yep. So, sorry, you're right. I was looking at from 1 to 2, not 2 to 3.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks for that catch. Any other questions? Councilmember Larson, you've got the furrowed brow. Is that going to lead to a question?
Nope.
Okay.
Just looking.
Okay, how about call for the question?
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes. Item G, authorize the mayor to sign the section 00630 retainage joint account agreement with Wilson Brothers Construction for the Buena Vista Water and Roadway Improvement Project. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second. Oh, sorry. That was quick.
Okay, we're going to go with Team Han with a motion by Councilmember Dan Han, seconded by Councilmember Josh Han. And Lance, we've got you as our point person for this.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is an option on all of our contracts. We don't see people typically do this. We hold on to retainage, and that means that we make interest on retainage as it comes from a grant to the city. So in this case, when it's put into a joint account and this project's over 2 years and could be a substantial amount of retainage that they earn, the 5% of the overall amount earned, then the contractor can get interest off of that. And then release of that retainage is, their money at that point. So they've earned it. We hold it back for performance is the way it works. So if they did the work, we hold the 5% back. That's just guaranteeing the rest of the work gets done. It's insurance of the contract. And at the end, when we're satisfied with acceptance and we get through advertising, everybody's been paid, then we release the retainage. At that point, this account will be turned over in full to the contractor and they'll have everything in their retainage account.
Thanks for that explanation. Any other questions for Lance about that? Okay, seeing none, we'll start with you, Councilmember Josh Hahn.
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes. Item H, approve and authorize the mayor to sign acceptance of quote Q-124016-1 with Civic Plus for agenda and meeting management. And we'll see a few of these coming here. They're separate component parts of our agreement with Civic Plus. A motion and a second for this, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Councilmember Larson. Rochelle, if you want to give us the overall right now, since you got the mic, and then we don't have to go for each one of these.
So we currently have meeting management and website with Civic Plus. I think I mentioned at the last meeting that I was seeing a lot of glitches in the agenda portion of it and things of that nature because they are discontinuing these products that we currently have. So if we want to remain and have a website with Civic Plus and the software that I use for the minutes and the agendas, because it pulls from that software into our website, it just integrates, then this is the upgrade that is required to do that. And it would start in January and that price would be for the full year. And it involves also the migration of all of our current documents on our website onto the new website, which is nice because it will retain all that historical information and allow us to be, allow people to look up what happened in past meetings and see our minutes. And I'm very hopeful that in the next version, it'll also have a place for us to be able to put all of our resolutions and historical documents like that. I'm hopeful, crossed. So this would be to continue those services starting January 1st through the next calendar year.
Yeah.
I can tell you, because I saved that email, how much more expensive it is. Because everything is more expensive.
Yeah.
1,800.
I
Hold on,
think
no.
that
The first one is 5,300.
Yeah, total's 11,821.
and I think for the meeting management, it's about $500 a year more expensive, and the website's about $1,000 a year more expensive.
Yeah. So, I mean, both,
Oh, here it is.
yes, things have gone up, but also this is such a critical component of how we communicate and be transparent with the public. This is how our information is online, accessible, trackable, et cetera, et cetera. So it's, while I regret that we have to pay more, it's for the sake of continued transparency, I think it's still a bargain.
It's also another place where we keep documents.
Yeah. So, and it'd be great if we could eventually get resolutions as well, but
Yeah,
that's
I
to
would
be
love that.
determined. More information available to the public is great. So,
Mayor, if I may.
yes.
How long have we been with Civic Plus? Is this the first time that we've been utilizing a service or a platform, part of their service that they then discontinue and we have to upgrade?
This is the first time that has happened. I want to say we've probably been with them for, at least for the meeting management side, 4 years. I know our Muni code is also Civic Plus.
Mhm.
That happened before my time.
Okay.
So over 5 years
4 years
for
now.
the Muni code
Yeah.
and website, probably longer than that.
Great. Yeah, I think Mary, to your points, I mean, absolutely agree. It's an overall increase to us of $1,800 a year. So, that's no concern over that. But I hate the idea that a tech company that we rely on, right? We have one level of service and then, well, that's gone now and we can't support it. you can pay more. Like, how often is that happening? And, the costs of migrating and finding another competitor and all those things are probably, I assume we've looked into that, like astronomical. So, this is worth it for the $1,800, but I kind of want to keep an eye on, like, is this every 2 years?
Right.
How often
Yeah.
are we getting upsold here, forced upsell?
And of course, they're not telling us that.
Of course they're not.
Yeah.
Totally, because
Yeah.
it's that company.
I would tell you,
Yeah.
Councilmember Stubble, that
Watch.
there are some new ADA requirements coming down the pike for PDF accessibility and
Mm.
readability that will be required to be implemented on websites and things of that nature.
Mhm.
I received a quote for that product through Civic Plus, and it's about $8,000 a year.
Mhm.
And I felt like I wanted to do more research that was too expensive.
You'll look into competitors.
Now,
then.
why they would even sell us a website that won't be compliant in 2028, I have no idea. I asked her that and she had no answer.
Well, thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah.
Councilmember Cassidy?
When it auto renews, do we have any voting responsibility?
No,
Yep, so it just goes every year.
unless we cancel it within, I think it's a certain time period before the auto renewal.
Right,
And we'd get notice of price increases.
right.
So
So the way that the council would have visibility on price increases would only be through bills and claims, not through a renewal approval process for the council.
that's currently how it works. Certainly, if this council wants to say, hey, before we auto renew on these products, come to us 4 months ahead of time. I think if, off the top of my head, if I say 4 months, that should comply with the time requirements if we
It
want to get out of
would,
the
yeah.
contract.
It will, it's 60 days, right?
Yeah, that's what my recollection is. But
Okay.
if I set my calendar for 4 months, I might get it done.
Yep.
Right. But also bear in mind, if we didn't continue the Civic Plus, we have to totally rebuild our website,
Mhm.
which is
Yep.
way more than a
Sure.
4-month process.
Sure. I'm just
So,
curious
yeah.
about our visibility on rate increases. If it went on for a decade and it went up 15% per year, we would perhaps never know we would never know until, somebody picked it out of bills and claims once a year, only once a year.
That's probably fairly accurate.
Right, so it might be helpful, not to solve this now, right, but to create a threshold of software as a service type things of this nature, that if they hit 10% per annum, it comes to us.
That sounds like a great policy to
You know,
talk about instituting just
Yeah.
in the financial
right,
realm.
across the board, yeah. It does, yeah, it's 5, but I mean, if it were to jump drastically,
Yeah.
it might trigger it to come to us, not through bills and claims, not to solve that now.
Right.
Just,
That's
Yeah.
a great,
Yeah, great idea.
great idea.
Okay.
And Christy left, so we can't.
Yeah, right. But that is totally in the wheelhouse of the conversations Christy and I have had about how she wants to advance our financial system and tracking. And yeah, I really appreciate her keen eye for all of those kinds of things. So, anything else on this one? Can we call for the question? Okay, Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes. Item I, very similar, approve and authorize the mayor to sign acceptance of quote Q-123715-1 with Civic Plus for the City of Lander Municipal website. So once again, a motion and a second.
Move to approve.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Larson, seconded by Councilmember Stubble. Any conversation on this? Okay, Councilmember Han?
Yes.
Call for the question?
Yes.
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 That passes. Item J, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the notice of award and notice to proceed for the Hunt Field Apron Reconstruction and Replace Beacon Project, AIP number 3-56-001/026/027-2026. State project number ALN 008/ALN 019 to Century Companies, Inc. for $3,203,972. Yeah. Move to approve. Thank you. And thank you for that. So moved by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Councilmember Danhon. And Lance, fill us in on this one.
Yeah, this is the
Continuation.
construction of the apron and related construction around the hangars we talked about previously. And so estimated at a lesser amount, it was rebid. And it came in about the same price, and FAA evaluated it, had the extra money for it, and recommended we move ahead with the project. So they came up with the necessary funds from the state and the federal, if we could come up with the 4% locally.
Councilmember Han.
Is that a 5% match?
4.
4? Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad they came up with extra funding.
Yeah.
for that.
So
Could they have a few more numbers and letters in the project title though, please? Could you please request that?
Yes, I will next time make that longer for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions? Okay, we'll call for the question, starting with you, Councilmember Han.
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes. Item K, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the Juvenile Justice Services of Fremont County Agreement for FY 2026-2027 in the amount of $35,000.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Love it. And a second, please. Moved by Councilmember Joshon, seconded by Councilmember Cassidy. We had their presentation before. We just had some typos in there. So call for the question, Councilmember.
I
Lars?
do have
Oh,
just, sorry,
sorry.
Mayor, to interrupt you. I would like us to be more intentional about having them come. I would like to hear from them a little bit more frequently on updates. We didn't have that this year. I know it was requested at some point, but it would be good for us to know as far as priorities go, just our support of them and then how things are going for them.
They did come this year.
Did they come
Yeah.
4 times? Just once.
Do you mean more than once a year?
Yes, more
Oh,
than
got
once,
it,
sorry.
got it.
More than once a year.
Yeah.
I want to hear from them more frequently.
Got it.
It would be nice to hear from them more frequently. We can make that soft suggestion.
Okay. Noted. And call for the question, Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
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 That passes. Item L, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the acceptance of quote Q-147425-1 with Civic Plus for virtual training on the recreational management system. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Stubble, seconded by Councilmember Danhon. Again, this is all part of the Civic Plus package. Any questions on this?
No, but can I say something really quick that's funny?
Only if it's funny.
So it says their renewal term, I thought it was 5/14. I was like, what? When I kept looking at, sorry, it was rough. It's May 14th.
Okay.
So this came from Ann Even. She's been very instrumental in switching the community center rental over to the Civic Plus platform, which we use for Parks and Rec. And there apparently is some employee questions, some use issues. Our staff would just like more information from them on how this works and how to make it more seamless for the customers coming in and trying to book, and we're struggling with it.
Any other questions? Okay, call for the question, Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes. Section 9, we need to move to adjourn for executive session for potential litigation according to Wyoming statute 16-4-405 AIII. I get a motion in a second.
Move to adjourn to executive session.
Second.
So moved by Councilmember Larson, seconded by Councilmember Josh Hahn. We'll be back, folks. I think it'll be relatively short. Oh, sorry, we need to vote on that. So sorry. So come on back. Got to vote on it. Got to vote. We got to vote on it. We'll continue down the line.
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. Now we will be back.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's flying out early morning. So I need to be there for moral support for her.
And you can, we have to later.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. Okay, we need a motion and a second to adjourn our executive session.
So moved.
Stop confusing us, Adam. I confuse things enough all on my own. So we can have a motion from Councilmember Larson. Did we get a second from Councilmember Josh Hahn? Call for the question. Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
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 Okay, that passes. Councilmember
Yeah.
Cox has departed our meeting. And next up is a motion and a second to adjourn the business portion of tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Okay.
What? Moved by Councilmember Stubble with a very formal second by Councilmember Larson. Call for the question, Councilmember Hahn.
Yes.
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 Great,
Yes.
we are adjourned from that work session. So we have two topics on the docket. First one being, this is simply work session. We're not required to make amendments, but up for discussion and think about amendments to come, discussing potential revisions to ordinance 1171, the city's current bike ordinances, including potential regulations for electric bikes, e-bikes, and other assorted electrical things. So, and that's largely what's driving this, having all the e things out there, e-skateboards and one wheels and all that type of stuff. Knowing that much like our liquor license revisions, really what we need to do to make this successful is having significant community outreach. And as part of that, I've had at least initiated conversations with both of the bike shops, trying to set up time to talk to the bike club, have reached out to all the principals and Superintendent Harris, as well as principals of the schools outside of Fremont One. And everyone agrees, like, yes, we need to have better rules and regulations about this. We want kids to have the freedom to move around and to do so safely. So I'm quite confident that we'll have lots of our community partners being fully invested in helping educate the public on how to do this and do this well. So, and I wanted that to happen ahead of this because I knew that would be a question we would have about, well, how do we educate the public about this? And so just so y'all know, we've got great support from our community partners on that. So with that, would love to hear conversations from folks about the ordinance. What kinds of things would you want to bring forward as amendments when we have our first reading for it? So the floor is open for conversation. Okay.
I'm feeling under the weather and need to leave. Councilman Cassidy.
I'll escort
The
you.
entire time the mayor's talking, he's just beat-eyeing me, nodding, like, I hope you're ready.
Workload.
So Councilman Dan Hahn and myself actually briefly discussed this before the meeting tonight. The workload that it would change for the police department, in my opinion, is very, very minimal. We're still out patrolling. We're observing them. One thing that I've pushed pretty heavily over the last couple weeks is my guys making contact with all of these people. So we're already doing it per se. Right now, I guess my concern is what kind of enforcement authority that we currently have, right? We can agree that our primary focus is the safety of kids. That's where the problems really lie. And in my opinion, using a state statute to enforce a circuit court violation to a 12 or 13-year-old kid is not our best foot forward in the beginning. One of the things I appreciate the most about the ordinance as it's written now is we've set kind of guidelines of first time we contact you, it's going to be a warning. We're going to talk to your parents. We're going to educate everybody. The second time, you're going to receive a citation, a minimal $25 fine to show you that we're serious. The third time then would put you and your parent in front of the judge. So we're moving softly yet progressively to, hey, we're taking this serious. I had some conversations today with the mayor, with Councilwoman Stubble. It's not my job to make amendments, but the more I read through this, I guess if I could give you one area that I would think was important, that it would be a possible amendment, was outlawing e-bikes on any sidewalks within the entire community of Lander. Because I'll tell you, the biggest complaint we get is either young children on scooters or people walking down the sidewalk, and these e-bikes are just ripping down the sidewalk. So that's workflow for us. I don't think it's
Yeah.
adding anything, to be honest with you.
When but kind of following up on that, and you and I've had this conversation as well, is even before getting to that warning stage, I know a lot of the LBD folks want to have the carrot approach of, being able to offer the ice cream cone coupon. Hey, thanks for riding your bike appropriately. Thanks for wearing a helmet. Thanks for, riding in the proper space in a controlled way. And that I think helps go a long way to avoiding getting into the warnings and parents and whatnot. That's our intent is making the streets safe. It's not about having the kids come before Judge McKee.
I truly believe the heaviest lift of this entire ordinance is going to be the education. And I think one of the areas where we are kind of playing right now is the reality of it is it's a parental issue, right? Parents educating their children on the laws, on the rules. And I don't know that there's ever a proper way to hold a kid accountable to force the parent to be a parent, right? So how do we find that magic ground of, we've got to do something about this, about our community safety, to keep our kids safe, but yet hold the parents accountable to coach them to be better about educating them on what the laws and the rules are. And that's some things that we talked about and kind of went through in the beginning of this. And I feel like the way it's currently written, at least with a vision of progressively, that's how we do that, right? We've got to do something. Best to my recollection, on record right now, we have one documented crash that involved an e-bike. The story of it is Second and Main Street. Main Street directions are red. Vehicles coming out of Second. Someone totally blew the red light on an e-bike and T-boned the car. It was a 14-year-old child. Thankfully, he wasn't hurt. But it's going to be the education of, you have to follow all the traffic laws when you're allowed on the e-bikes. So the current e-motos, the motorcycles that are electric, those are illegal. They're an off-road vehicle. They're illegal no matter what. There's nothing in the ordinance that allows them or will allow them to be, because they're self-propelled. They take no human power.
Mayor. Chief, I think that, you're talking about educating the kids. From what I've seen, we need to educate the adults a lot also. I've seen probably as many adult offenders as I have juveniles
It's very much equal, I guess. Councilman Larson, one, I agree with you. Two, I guess my biggest concern is the education of the kids, pushing it onto the parents. And how do we do that? We have to remember that these children are not fully developed brains, right? So they're not switched on to the things that are really important. So we have to find that way to educate the children, but also the parents and the adults that are involved.
Yeah. And there are plenty of adults using these different things who are riding against traffic, yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to have one. It looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My question about workload was, you answered a lot of it. I think my additional thought process here is that, if you're going to create a dismount zone and it works, then the vast majority of your use and potential violations are going to be outside of Main Street, right? So it's going to cause an additional geographically dislocated workload to those officers on patrol, right? And I mean, they are out in the residential areas. I know there's no doubt about that, right? But I'm just wondering how that's, because how that would work, because if you are looking predominantly up and down Main Street for traffic violations, you're not going to see these, hopefully. So it could disaggregate, and it could
Well,
force those users, those violators, and those patrol officers outward.
And
Does that make sense?
yeah, it absolutely does. But my counter to you is going to be in our DDAX is what we call it, right? How we identify where we need to be patrolling and what we're doing.
Yes.
I think that helps us with that, quite honestly. That's something that we've been working towards in the 3 years that I've been here in Lander. I can give you data after data after data of our crash reduction and all the work we've done on Main Street, right? I'm pushing my staff now to move further out. We have other issues in the general complaints that we're getting now about traffic complaints, speeds, not even just e-bikes, just cars are on these other roads and these other paths.
Yes.
So to me, it's a win in the sense of it forces them to focus more in the other areas as well.
Good deal. I have another question that doesn't have to do with workforces exemptions. So if you create a dismount zone, like you think about the 4th of July, there are people ripping up and down in the parade area before the parade began on those things. Are we going to shoot ourselves in the foot by creating exemptions for Main Street activities to allow them to do that on 4th of July? Then the kids observe that, and then they go forward the 5th of July and so on, thinking that it's acceptable to ride inside of a dismount zone? Or are we going to not allow exemptions on Main Street ever?
My preference would be not to allow them on Main Street ever. I mean, if you look at everybody's sitting next to you only because of their tenure here longer than yours. We did the parade just fine. We did a lot of these things just fine before e-bikes were even a thing. This is just a new convenience, right? And so to me, my vote is to not allow exemptions ever, because then we don't have to play in this playground of when you can and when you can't.
That's what I would prefer, and for that to be explicit in here, in this draft,
Okay, hang on. Councilmember Josh Hans had his light on for a bit.
Yes.
Here we go.
Right on.
I got two things. So not only e-bikes, but like bicycles on Main Street. I witness them. It's pretty much weekly. They're ripping in between the ongoing traffic and the cars parked on the side of the road. And you come to a stoplight and they don't stop. They just keep going. You know what I mean? So, and it's really scary because if you're in the right-hand lane turning right and I've seen it a couple of times and they darn near, I mean, it's not pretty when you have to.
In my department head staff meeting that I had today with all my supervisors, that's something that I addressed very loudly. Yes, are we focusing on an e-bike? Sure, but there's still a lot of other traffic laws that still apply to bicycles that I feel like we are also neglecting. So that's a focal area that I'm starting to push with them as well.
Now my second thing, I'm not to be a fun smasher on children on cool stuff, but how are these like e-bikes and the scooters and stuff not considered a motorized vehicle?
Because the quickest, easiest, clean-cut answer for you is this. Under Wyoming state statute, the definition of a vehicle is something that is not powered by human power. These e-bikes require you to initiate the power and use human power. They don't
Even the little motorcycle ones that they're
the
riding?
motorcycle ones are illegal. Those are illegal altogether. So if it's the e-moto, then the ones that look like a motorcycle that you ride, that's illegal no matter what.
Okay,
And
'cause
that's something
what I see the most of on there.
well, and that's something that I clarified with my staff here pretty recently. I've been shipping a lot of statute and definitions to staff print. Rachel's printed off probably 20 pages to where we hand to parents. Here's the statutes. Here's what it reads. Here's 9 times, I think, in the last, I would say 7 to 8 days, we've now progressed to when we catch those e-motos, we stop them. We call the parent. One's a grandparent. They come get the kid. They come get the bike, and we educate them. These are illegal. You can't ride them. Under statute, they technically are defined as an off-road vehicle.
Cool. Well, thank you. That explained a lot to me.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this whole thing's pretty muddy, and You know, we talked about today briefly of what's a class 1 versus a class 2 versus whatever. It's clear in Wyoming state statute when they sell them, they have a plate on them, like a VIN plate on your truck, right? Says the year, the watts, the class, everything. For us to be able to watch one ride by and say that's a class 2, not anymore. It's not anymore. When they first came out, they had huge tubes or a battery pack. I mean, it was very glaringly an e-bike, and they've progressed so far now that you don't know really just by a quick glance. It's going to force us to make contact with people, and that's not a bad thing. As long as we are professional and it's community education, and I push my guys a lot to have a number of contacts and fruitful conversations with the community.
Chief, I've got a question for you, and it stems from what Mike Cusick brought up about what he's trying to do at the state level about allowing for impounding one of these. What's your take on that? Is that something that
I guess
is overly severe, appropriate? Where on that continuum would you place that?
I think that's pretty extremely severe, to be quite frank with you. My personal opinion would be, if we have a continued violator that just chooses to continue to be the problem, chooses not to listen after the citation, after court, then maybe then, right? Maybe then. But I'll tell you, in our experience thus far, getting the parents or whoever there, they resolve the issue. It's a different world. I can tell you, when I was young, if they were going to call my dad, I would rather just deal with the cops than my dad not be involved. Thus far, that's just been the result. They've been very good about, we got the bike, we've got you educated, we've got you the laws, and they just take care of it. I would vote to not impound these e-bikes. That's just my opinion.
Not to mention then the challenge of now we're responsible for this $4,000 or more item, and where's it going to be, and et cetera, et cetera.
Every time we take something, the liability that we take on is pretty drastic, and I don't feel like an e-bike should fit that bill. We tow cars, but that's completely different.
Yeah, different ball of wax. Yeah, great. Other comments, questions on this?
Councilman
Okay.
Danhon, you for 1 minute had your finger up. I'm assuming that I answered what you were going to ask in one of the other questions.
Actually, Josh, it was the same question I talked
Okay.
about. The concern has always been, or one of the things that has come up for 20 years about bicycles is they will be in the lane acting like an automobile, and then come to a red light and whip around, and so they go from automobile to a bicycle to an automobile.
Yep. So I
Picking
think
and choosing.
in that, to follow further with that, I believe, I was a big driver in Title II of bringing everybody to the table, and I think that's how we're handling ordinances moving forward, at least as long as I'm around. But I want to capitalize on this opportunity to re-educate even regular bicycle owners. You have to follow the law.
Yeah.
And as much as we have been a strong presence on social media, that's some stuff that we're still going to use through the police department, of when we start pushing out the ordinances and the laws that we're stating, being very loud that this applies to your regular bicycle as well. You have to do this.
Yep. And that's part of why I want to include the cycling club in this, because they've got great outreach to, I don't even know how many folks in town are members and part of their email list, and same with including the shop, so that we can have as good of education as possible out there, as broad spread as possible for that. I'm curious to hear in this initial draft, there is a allotment for class 1 to be okay on sidewalks, not on Main Street, but on other places. But hearing what Dr. Nelson presented, Chief Wah's point of view, hearing that from other folks as well, I'm curious to your thoughts about is that an appropriate change to put into this, so that anything needs to be on the roadway, not on sidewalks? And I'm seeing generally head nods for that. Okay.
I'll tell you what, the hurdle with that's going to be is a very large amount of people with their young kids on bikes. Their parents are wanting them to ride on the sidewalk because it's safer than riding in the street. That's going to be your kickback from the community, is just my opinion.
No, agreed. And so I think we need to be really careful bikes are okay on the sidewalks off of Main Street, but e-bikes, we're saying not. But I agree, like parents like the ease of the e-bike. It's easier for the kid to get to whatever they're doing without parents schlepping them around. But they don't want their 12-year-old going 20 miles an hour side by side with cars. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a challenge for it.
All of your surface road regulations apply to alleys as well?
By statute, yes, they are a public maintained area under public street or highway.
Yeah, a lot of the kids take the alleys to school and they stay off the roads and they cut down the alleys, especially in the wintertime.
I understand that. And I think quite honestly, that's almost more dangerous to me because they're shooting out from closed buildings, trying to cross the street where there's no traffic control device. So I don't know if there's something that you would want to address in here about use in alleyways. I mean, you can, honestly, you can do that. You have the power to do so. But
Yeah, that's why I bring it up because the crossing Seventh, over kind of on near to where I live, they'll rip right across the road from
Yeah.
alley to alley, and the houses are built right up to the edge. It's hard to see them.
Again, it's the underdeveloped brain thinking that's
Mhm.
faster and safer because
Yes.
there's no moving traffic, there's no pedestrians, but once we hit that street, they just don't.
Yeah. And is that a behavior they would simply do on the street as well? I don't know. So, I mean, in some ways, I'd rather them be on alleys because cars are typically moving a lot slower in the alleys. And I'd rather younger kids be riding their bikes among slower moving vehicles and exercise due caution actually crossing the street.
Right.
So, yeah, that's an interesting, I can see pros and cons of both of that. Yeah. Councilmember Stubble.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll weigh in with a couple high level pieces here and then a couple specifics at the end. And I'm keeping an eye on the clock, Councilman Hahn. Don't worry. I'm just really grateful to staff who've taken this issue seriously and have brought us a really great draft. I know a lot of folks put time and effort into this. So thank you on that. And on the fact that we already have enforcement and education happening, both for the e-moto, which we have the regulations in place for to address any violations or to educate folks on how to use those more safely. And then, on e-bikes, even though we're now filling in the gaps for some of the details perhaps of how we want to regulate that use. So I think that's essential, right? We've hit on the education piece, what we could do in the future, but what we're doing now is real. One thing I want to name about this ordinance development is that this shows us being really proactive, right? We're like taking this seriously before something terrible happens and responsive. I'm not the only one up here that's heard from members of the public saying, gosh, have you seen this? I saw this thing happen. Can that happen? What can you do about it? If we had a packed room and I said, raise your hand if you all have seen somebody riding an e-moto or an e-bike unsafely, I'm pretty sure everybody would raise their hand at this point. It's been a couple months now, even last summer. So 12 months now, even last summer of growing awareness of ooh, that was sketchy. That's unsafe. Folks coming to us, folks coming to staff and us saying, yeah, there's a gap here in our system. So let's fill it. So City of Lander, I'm always proud when we're proactive and responsive here to the community. And I'm always looking forward to the input that will come in. On my specifics, yes, resounding yes to the exempting all e-bikes of any class from sidewalks. The idea of a 20-mile-an-hour vehicle coming down a sidewalk that's too much for me. I'm not going to propose these amendments right now, but it's what I heard from public comment. I want to chew on them and get more input. I heard from Dr. Nelson a proposal perhaps that we mandate or enforce which class of bike by age group. So as you get up into the class 3s and the higher speeds, are we okay with anybody under 16 on that, right, or not? So I don't know if we want to address that, and two, if we can we mandate age limits and enforce them for certain classes?
Yes,
Okay.
to me, it's no different than mandating a curfew violation within the city. I mean, we can regulate hours of times that they can be out of their homes. I mean, we're enforcing it by you have to be 16 to have a driver's license, right?
Mhm.
To me, those are all in the same window of things.
Yeah.
And if Adam says I'm wrong, I'm not, he is.
He's mulling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get where you're coming on the intent of that. I would prefer to have that. The sources that Dr. Nelson had are compelling sources as part of the educational piece. I'm leery to start having that as an enforcement piece or limitation.
Sure.
I mean, one, given there's already hundreds of these out in the community, maybe that's an exaggeration, but they're already prevalent in the community.
Mhm.
And I don't know the age groups for them.
Sure.
So-
So fair points entirely. And I think that's why I want to name it,
Yeah.
chew on it in the development
Yeah.
of like, if we could, what does that mean? What ages would
Yeah.
we assign? What sources do we want to look at? What research do we want to look at? So it's not an amendment I'm bringing tonight by any means, but it's intriguing to
Yeah.
me when I think of class 3 reaching 28 miles per hour, and I'm, wondering like, are we okay with an 8-year-old on that? So that's something that I guess I'd ask us all to think about research and come forward. Recommendations would be lovely. I'm not seeing Adam stepping in saying we can't. Another,
But I'd have to do the research on it. I mean, one of the issues is, there's a few issues with that is, are we going to require a license for these kids to be driving some of these things to verify that how old they are? Enforcement, and we have a lot of underage kids driving vehicles currently, and we aren't doing a lot about stopping them, unfortunately. And so, I mean, there's a lot of issues with this, and primarily always comes down to enforcement.
great. Let's keep talking about it then. Thank you. I think and then the second thing I would raise for the same, like keep talking, chewing, want input on it between now and the first reading is on the citation amounts, the fines, essentially. And if there's a tiered structure, both for like number of occurrence and then, perhaps age or class there too. It's $25 is not a lot. For a kid it is, and if the kid is paying that. But we know parents are going to be, one, our target here for enforcement and education, and two, that's not, I don't think, a deterrent for some parents and families who are buying these devices. So I'm curious about higher fines for violations. Whoa, all right, let's chew on that. Councilman Larson, for the record, is being snarky and does not want that quote to appear in the paper. Great. So those are things on my mind that I want input on, and welcome folks conversing with us as we go towards amendments, Mayor. But awesome work. I'm glad we're making progress on this. Thank you all.
Yeah. Great. Anything else on this before we turn to the next one? Okay. Let's turn to the next. So this is pages 30 through 62, the proposed new City of Lander employee manual. So Rochelle, thank you again for our summary for this. It's super helpful given how much of this is different information. So if you've got questions on any of this, let's.
I did want to just interject quickly. I do propose, and I didn't get it in here, adding this paragraph to the disciplinary action portion. And it would read something like this: employment with the city as it will unless otherwise required by law or expressly provided. This means that either the employer or the employee may terminate the relationship at any time with or without cause or advance notice subject to law. The disciplinary procedures described in this handbook are intended to provide general guidance and promote consistent personnel practices. They do not create a contract of employment, a promise of continued employment, or a requirement that the city use progressive discipline to follow each disciplinary step before taking corrective action or terminating employment.
Thank you. I'm really glad you want to include that, especially that last part, because how this is written seems to be an incremental step, and there are some things that would go straight to a termination.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I apologize that I missed that step. I didn't get it in. It'll teach me to leave town before getting out the agenda.
Yeah. I think, could we also have a definition section for misfeasance, malfeasance, and nonfeasance? I mean, I'm an English lit major, and I'm like, what the heck are those? Okay, great.
Great, Mayor. I have
Yeah.
a few pieces. Thank you all for your patience in advance of some of the close read here. Rochelle, sorry, Clerk Fontaine, on page 37, starting with vacation leave, this is 37 of the manual itself, not the packet or anything. Tell me, I feel like vacation leave and annual leave, are those synonymous? Are those distinguished? It feels like we're using them interchangeably, or I'm not getting the distinctions. They're synonymous. Okay. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's throughout the document. Then I saw that pop up and I'm thinking I might be missing what type of leave this is. But if it's brilliant. Thank you. Can I keep going, Mayor?
Please.
Okay. On bereavement leave, this is page 48, folks. it's for close family. This is leave granted for the unfortunate death of close family members. And I would be interested in council's opinion on extending that definition from spouse, domestic civil union partner, child, parent, sibling, grandparent, grandchild, or equivalent relationship by marriage to uncles, aunts, and cousins. So you can have bereavement leave for the death of an uncle, aunt, or cousin.
Mayor. You know, back when I first moved to Lander, I looked at life through my eyes, and you know, I thought that everybody had a mom and a dad, and a parent and a grandparent on both sides. You know, and that's the way it was. And then we would hire a lot of native people, and you know, after the fifth or sixth grandparent that died, you know, that they was wanting to go to a funeral, you know, I started getting a little suspicious and so forth. But you get out and you get involved in that culture, and I mean, they do have 6 or 7 grandparents, aunts or mothers, you know, and it's you're walking a pretty fine line there when you just distinguish, you know, just certain people that you get bereavement from.
Mayor, to that point, then I would offer perhaps instead of naming, and then my amendment here, you know, an expansion of certain categories so that we actually just have it be bereavement leave is at the discretion of the supervisor. And in a conversation with the supervisor and discussion of the family member,
Yeah.
you know, like I can't see people abusing bereavement leave, right? If you want to go, if you're like closer to your uncle than you are to your father, you should get bereavement leave for the death, right? His death. And so I'm open to either expanding this list or just removing who it applies to and having it be discretion of supervisor to grant.
Well, that's an easy one to abuse, you know, it is, but there's also some real issues there where the people feel that, you know, that third aunt is just like a mom or a grandma, and
I don't think that's abuse then. I think that's honoring a close family tie that
It is.
we shouldn't be weighing in on a judgment for. So are you, and then Councilman Larson, I'm confused. Would you support that we don't name categories of family members? We have it.
well, I guess we'd really have to be careful, but yeah,
All right.
you know, I don't have an answer to that, Julia.
And perhaps Missy, or I'm sorry, Mayor White, it's up to the supervisors to weigh in on if that's something they're comfortable doing in a more subjective and unquantified way, right? This is very clear. You can say, yes, it's father. You can
We
say
haven't
no, if
had,
it's not.
we haven't had an issue in
Yeah.
10 years that I know of it being abused.
Like,
You know,
I don't
just,
think it would be.
yeah.
So you're okay, you're recommending
Yes,
say,
I'm
keeping it
okay.
open?
Yeah, I'm open to that because I think it would be a conversation and somebody asking to use our leave appropriately.
I'm wondering if we could have a hybrid of the two. And Rochelle, I'm looking at you a bit for this in terms of, I know there's, or I believe there's some federal language that has to be abided by. Is that correct?
For bereavement leave?
For bereavement, is there anything for that or no?
That I'm aware of.
Okay.
My one concern, Councilmember Stubble, would be not all supervisors are the same. And I would hate
Yeah.
for people not to be treated the same.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
We have more open-ended policies for
Yeah.
leave in general.
Yeah. And then that leads to, well, this department head said yes, and that other one said no for seemingly similar circumstances. But if the discretion is left, then our folks treat it
I
the
love
same.
consistency.
Yeah.
HR, of course you do.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about you. And also there will be a change, there could potentially be changes in supervisors. So, you know, you have a vague policy and then you get a supervisor that would allow a certain situation and then a new one that doesn't. And that's hard to explain why it was okay under one leadership, but not another. So I personally would like to see a little more definition in that area.
And so part of why I'm asking about any law about that is that middle of the paragraph, or any other relation required by applicable law. So is there applicable law for bereavement leave?
I know there's applicable law when it comes to FMLA and taking off to take care of family members. We'll have Adam look.
Okay.
We'll make him earn
Okay.
his JD tonight.
Well, Mayor, I think there's probably other points to move on to, so we're not amending tonight. I'm
correct.
gonna put the flag out there. I would either look at creating this in a much more non-specific way or expanding the list of who this can be applied to, and I'll bring an
Yeah.
amendment accordingly in conversation with others. On the same paragraph on bereavement leave, on second to last sentence, regular employees may be granted 2 hours to attend the funeral of a fellow city employee. I would like to see that be fellow, like current or past, right?
Okay.
Employee, not
And
person.
that was taken straight out of what we currently have,
Yeah.
so.
Just be specific. It's not an argument about somebody who's left a year ago. Yeah. Okay. I'm not seeing any dissent there. Okay. I'm gonna keep going down my list.
Sure.
If that's all right. Thank you. Let's see, on page 49, this is 2 days of notice. Preferred for voting so that, you know, our employees, and I'm glad to see this, can have an hour off to vote. I'm sorry, it's not page 49. Oh, there we go. It bridges page 48 and 49. And supervisors, tell me if you prefer this, but with this final sentence where possible, department heads should be notified at least 2 days prior to the voting day. That feels onerous. We all know the 2 voting days of the year. It's an hour the person's going to be gone. Do they really, really want them to have notice given on a Friday in advance of a Tuesday?
No.
Thank you. Like,
I'm good with.
thank you. Great. Seems to
Cross that out.
Okay. Any counsel?
No.
Okay. Great. There's a typo on page 50. This is minor. I'm sorry to even say it, but the may have been served. Should just say may have served. It's not a meal. I'm sorry, I should get more specific
No,
on page
I
50.
copied and pasted this from our current
Yeah.
one, so where are we on page? 50?
Page 50, yeah, I'm sorry, I should say this. It's around eligibility.
Number 1.
It's twice, so the service may have been served with more than one. Oh, you guys are gonna fire me? It's actually fine. I read it as a typo and now I'm reading it thinking, no, it's actually okay.
There is one.
Recall
thing I would
vote.
like to clarify in this particular section,
Yep.
though. I would like it to have the clarification that this from the day the employee puts boots on the ground, so their start date, not their hire date, because those can be different.
Oh, sure.
We've had issues with that in the past. So I would like to amend this language to say that this anniversary date is a start date. It is not the date
Nice.
necessarily that an employee accepted an offer
Yeah,
or that
that
they were
makes
suddenly
sense.
hired, but the first time they clocked time with the city of Lantern.
Yeah. Although for number 1, I think it would read smooth to say this employment may have been served with more than one city department.
Yeah,
I mean, that's hers. Great. Last one for me on the details, page 56. This is in the FMLA section. And it is, I'm just looking, sorry for a sentence, I didn't write this down. This is around the prohibition on taking a separate job. You're seeing it, Councilman Cassidy, can you give me a paragraph? Because now I'm not finding it.
56D, no work while on leave.
Oh, perfect, thank you. That just seems really vague to me, taking up another job. I know our intent here, but is this contract work, freelance work, a salaried position that's 40 hours a week? It strikes me that we probably get more specific about what's actually prohibited. Is all of those? Or can you mow somebody's lawn for $20? Right? Like, is that taking another job? It just seems really vague.
Oh, interesting.
Employment, we've had this happen.
So when
We've
we
had
don't,
people that were on FMLA that were
Yep.
working for other.
which we
agencies.
don't want to see, that sounds like an abuse, but just can we get more definitive, I guess, about what we don't want to see?
What constitutes a job?
And what would that look like?
Oh my goodness, HR, back to you.
Well,
You wanted it to be more
Nice.
specific, totally. I was gonna say.
Well
Yeah,
done.
sometimes you see people on workers' comp and they're on FMLA. We run them concurrently.
Okay.
Right? So if someone's on workers' comp and they're hanging, or they're doing other employment, you know, what are their limitations in theory if they're out on workers' comp on what they should be doing or what they can be doing?
Mhm.
So you have to be careful about that.
So it's,
Yeah.
No one. Well, potentially workers' comp if someone thinks there's workers' comp fraud.
Right.
But we don't police that. This would be the authority.
Mhm.
So it's whatever this council feels would be appropriate. I mean, Is it okay to mow your neighbor's yard I don't even know what the going rate is for mowing yards anymore. Is that what we're talking about? Or if it's a law enforcement officer, is it okay for them to?
It applies substantially different to me than most other entities in the city. You probably don't remember. Maybe John does, because I know he read the policy front to back, but it's currently in our police department policy that they have to have written permission from myself to accept other employment. And the entire intent behind that is that it's not conflict. They can't be out repoing cars. They can't be at bars slinging beer. They can't. So that's the idea of, well, for me in our policy, of you have to have written permission to accept another job, just to make sure it's not a conflict issue.
Yeah, but I think this is a little more nuanced in the sense of if you're on family or medical leave, so say your job is something that requires certain physicality, and you broke your leg, but you also have skills as a graphic designer that you can do sitting at a computer. And so maybe that would be in the person's best interest to, hey, I still need to bring dollars in the door. And this is something that while I'm not eligible to do my traditional work, I can bring an income in this other way.
Part of it, I
I'm not
think,
sure how to write that language.
Let's not wordsmith it tonight.
Yeah.
Come back with it.
Yeah.
It gets
Yeah.
hard, so it's either just take it out potentially and let people do what works for them or what they feel is in their best interest.
Yeah.
Or get very granular in trying to corral it.
Yeah.
we've done our best as city staff, department head specifically, to, in that scenario, someone's on FMLA, they have a broken leg, whatever, to bring them back in and
Yeah.
give them light duty work
Yeah.
to keep money coming in.
Yeah.
I guess my issue is, and we had this, thankfully no longer, somebody took FMLA due to having a child and used that time while they were getting FMLA and sick to do a whole nother job. And I guess to me, morally, I don't know if that's the correct action. I don't think you should take 12 weeks off of a job that we hired you to do to go work for another employer. You should be home with your child. That's what it's for. But that's just my personal opinion.
And just to be clear, you can take FMLA for newborn babies.
Yeah. Or adoption or, yeah.
Mayor, if I may recommend.
Any other?
Yeah, instead of wordsmithing that at, 8:49, could we, Rochelle, do you mind? I don't mean to like punt it back to you, but
Sure.
it's gonna be messier if I do it right now. Do you mind taking and Mayor? if
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
So
have a
what is
recommendation
the-
forward.
What is the intent that council would like to see? If you give me some parameters, I'm happy to work with some language.
I mean,
Well, I can can make make up all the language I want because I know what my intent is, but it might not match theirs.
I think it's something about not doing a job that requires comparable skills or fitness while you're on family or medical leave.
Okay.
no conflict.
Is that?
The current position with city planner.
Yeah.
Yeah, no conflict, no full-time work, right?
Yeah.
Like something to that effect.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like what's the intent of what we said here? Are we okay with a couple hours? Probably, but not 40 hours at a different job.
Okay.
That seems like
I'll
fraud.
take a swing at it.
Thank you. Mayor, that's my
Yeah.
list.
Great.
I had a few as well. So on page 33, I guess start on page 33. And I'm going to try to get with you this week just to hand over my notes so that we don't, so we don't go through every. Yes, the military stuff specifically, but on 33, there's a subparagraph B, written reprimand, and I just wrote, is there a city format for the department heads for that makes it consistent across all departments? The who, what, when, where, why, any kind of format for them?
There is a form. Most of the time I see people use it, but sometimes what I see is just a paragraph,
Sure.
like an
Okay.
essay. But we do have a form.
Page 30. Yeah. Page 34, just the consistency like you talked about earlier, on that one. But on page 34, the grievance procedure steps, 10 days, is that business days, calendar days? Or across all city policies writ large, whenever we call days, do we want to make a determination and maybe standardize that?
I think business days is what I would
Yeah,
suggest.
sure, 2 weeks,
So I
right?
can add business days.
Just bear with me here, because some of this stuff I don't need to bring up now. We talked about gender in the document. Some of it's he, and then it breaks over to he, she,
And I can fix that too.
or his, her, stuff like that. Page 43, wage replacement payments and payroll procedures. That's at the very top of the page there. Let me see where to begin. Statewide average monthly wage. Do you see that? It's at the top paragraph. I just put for myself what reference, and then I looked up Wyoming Department of Workforce Services Q3 2026 average monthly wages. I don't know if there's a way to put that as the reference or if that's even necessary. It just says state average monthly wage.
Right, and I see what you're saying. I believe I'll double check that language, but I believe it comes right out of the Wyoming State statute from workers' comp.
Okay. DWS.WYO is the link or whatever for the Department of Workforce Services. And that was the first thing I ran into for that. So on page 45, it talks about law enforcement officers, depending on the nature and extent of the disability, a sworn officer on temporary light duty will not wear the uniform. Drive a county equipped,
Should be city.
or sorry, yeah, a county, yep, city vehicle equipped with lights and siren, nor shall they be authorized to carry a weapon for the purposes of on-duty police functions, otherwise are limited in employing police powers as determined by the chief. Are you able to waive that at all? Can we put something in there such that if you required their assistance, or is that a hard and fast, absolutely no, ever? Because short manpower, you might want to have that person drive for you, but not do anything else, It's very restrictive.
I see your point and I understand it, but I also feel like I'm going to throw a bone to Rachel. We potentially are setting ourselves up for a lawsuit or litigation if they've been determined not medically clear to be doing the job.
Sure.
And then
And
I
they're doing
waive
the
it
job.
and put them in a position to
Sure.
even drive a car and they end up in a crash. I just don't, that's very uneasy to
Yeah.
me.
Fair. Yeah, okay. Page 48, just above bereavement leave, the paragraph above that. I think it's the last sentence. The city of Lander complies with Wyoming statute 11141 as it may be amended. However, exempt employees will be paid their full salary for any week in which time is missed due to jury duty. I just wrote, what's the difference in it was super confusing to me, but maybe I'll bring that one to you separate, but on page 49, the very last section of the insurance programs, it says health retirement account. I think maybe that's health savings account or
No, it's correct. That's an
is it? Is it? Okay.
We don't have HSAs.
Okay.
That is where you and I had discussed
Yeah.
creating the pool.
Yeah.
And I do have some language. I just sent to Adam for his review that we can insert.
And that's health retirement? Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, if we can, the pool thing that we had discussed. Don't know if that's got traction or not, but would love to see that come to life,
So the language
It's
that I
reimbursement account.
sent to Adam
It's reimbursement.
concerning
It is
that.
reimbursement.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is fairly lengthy, so I will email it out to council for their consideration. But Adam's reviewing it for me right now too.
Yeah.
Not the second, but,
Yeah.
but I'll send it to everybody so that you know that I have.
Yeah.
looked it
Rochelle, I
up.
think it's a health reimbursement account, not retirement.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah, you're correct. Sorry.
Okay. The longevity pay on page 50,
Yes.
does anybody have like the history on that? How long that's been around? Has it been around forever or?
It's been around, to my institutional knowledge, forever.
Sure.
And I will tell you one thing that I noticed this year was, because we have some employees that have been here a long time, 20 years or so, and we're hiring new employees, and they're onboarding, their salaries are much higher than what they used to be. And so, there has been discussion about eliminating longevity going forward, which this council could certainly do. But I noticed that it does provide those long-term employees a bump so that there is more of a gap between their salaries.
Mhm. And it was like for the longest serving, it's like 2160 a year. It's public funds. I mean, so probably maybe a conversation that somebody might want to engage in.
I know the state does longevity pay too.
The state does, yeah, yeah. Military does too. I mean, in a way. On page 53, second paragraph, talks about leave of absence. That's the final sentence of that second small paragraph. An employee who fails to return from leave without pay may be considered to have abandoned the position and subject of termination. And I just bracketed over to the side time period question mark. So at what point have they not returned from work? Is it 15 minutes late or 30 days? It might be helpful, a pay period or whatever, whatever might be standard. The military leave stuff we can talk about separate on that 4-2. On page 55, the qualifying exigencies, somebody say that for me. Exigencies. Caring for the parents, it's the very end of that. Caring for the parents of the military member on covered active duty and attending post-deployment reintegration briefings. Caring for the parents of the military member was a bit confusing to me. So you have a city employee who's providing care for parents.
And I can look into that
Sure.
a little bit more because my research in there is rusty
Okay.
on how that works.
And I can bring some military stuff that might help from that. I think this might be it for me. Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
No, Ward 2 is crushing. I'm just saying, you guys need to catch up. Ward 2 is crushing on this review. So other wards catch up.
I did the research on the military FMLA like 2 years ago, so I don't remember it very well.
On the military stuff, there's just some verbiage that we can go over, like I said earlier, like the vast majority of folks are going to be reservists. So they're going to have very specific requirements. There won't be probably any active duty folks, but there's just some language that could be tidied up in there that they might benefit from. So.
Yeah.
I will welcome that. I will defer to you as the expert in that area.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I've got a couple of things. There's some formatting things which we don't need to go over, but we can talk about that at another point. My fellow Ward 2 members, I'm also Ward 2. I think one that we should be careful about when we talk about pay period versus a time period, because there's potential to change our pay period. We've talked about that, switching to a 14-day instead of 28. So do we want to call out a particular time period versus pay period in this document is one question.
So
that.
pay period versus overtime accumulation?
No, I'm just talking about, we have talked about switching from a 28-day, PD is 28. ours is the 18th for the civil side of the house, the 18th of every month, and we've talked about switching to a 2-week pay period at some point. So if some of these things are about, it needs to happen within a pay period is how it's currently written. How does that substantially change what we're trying to achieve if it, instead of being a 30-day pay period, becomes a 14-day pay period? That's what I'm trying to say. Do we want to talk about pay period or specific length of time? Not to be answered now, but that's something that came
Okay.
through my mind.
And that's fine, but keep in mind that everybody's pay period is the same, law enforcement and the civil side right now. Everybody submits time on the midnight, the 18th, and then it starts over. Now, the overtime accumulation periods are different.
PD's doing a 28-day though,
The
not
overtime
30.
accumulation. That's not their hours
Oh,
that they get
okay.
paid for.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. But again, I think there is a potential for some of these things like, want to be addressed in the next pay period.
Yes. And
Are we talking about 14 days or 30 days or whatever?
right now,
That's-
we're talking about pay period,
Yeah.
it would be the 19th of a month to the 18th. of a
Yeah.
month.
See, most of those done. I think a lot of these are formatting. There was duplication, which again, we can do that at another spot, but I think all of mine in terms of context or content have been addressed. And the one question, we've talked about this with the HRAs, that depending on what company owns it, it may or may not be able to be cumulative. And is this the appropriate place to note that? And as well as other places?
I think it
And
would
you-
be appropriate to note that and to have some language, because we didn't have HRA anywhere in any of
Yeah.
our previous policies. So we're trying to integrate it. So I think it would be appropriate to say, that the federal laws govern how these are distributed and used, and they may change at any time, subject to federal guidelines and laws.
Yeah.
The city of Lander doesn't have any control over
Right.
that.
But it seemed like it's both that as well as like different companies that buy out someone else's, so I was like, no, we're not going to let you roll over more than X amount. And
Yes.
folks were anticipating being able to carry over far more than that. So a reminder for that.
Yeah,
But-
I'll add some sort of
Yeah.
disclaimer language around that.
Okay, thank
benefit.
you. Yeah, otherwise mine are formatting, that kind of thing that, besides what's been addressed. So anything else?
One last save ground. Having been a staff officer and done this many, many times, I'm very grateful to all of you for all the effort. Doing draft after draft after draft is a pain in the butt, and it's a hard lift, and it's additive to the things that you do every day, and it eats into your day, and I'm very grateful for the work, especially when you have to come in here and sit with us and we nitpick on your product, so, but thank you very much for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
There is one thing I would like the council to think about. It doesn't happen very often, but it happened in a year like this. So the 4th of July falls on a Saturday. Our
Mhm.
policy reads that there will be a holiday premium pay for employees that are called in and have to work on the holiday. It also says that if a holiday falls on a weekend, then the Friday or the Monday will be the holiday. So when we have employees that are called in that have to work both on the Friday and the Saturday, they're oftentimes looking to us for guidance. Now, historically, what the city has done is paid the premium on one day. And then if the employee had to work both days, then they sometimes pay like an overtime rate. So it's a premium as well, but it's not at the higher rate that the one day would get. So I don't know how the council feels. I would feel more comfortable clarifying in writing, like you either get paid for the observed day or the legal day, but not both days, or yes, the city would pay you for both, but only one at the higher rate. I don't know what you would like to do with that. And here's what I hear from employees. Well, the idea of a premium pay is because everybody else gets to enjoy the time off with their family and their friends and go do things. And we don't get the benefit of that. So we don't get the time off. We have to come in and we have to work. So at a regular rate, sometimes they're not very happy about that. But I would like this council to perhaps provide some guidance and direction on what you would like that to look like.
Yeah.
So I can answer it when it happens.
They should join the fire department and do it for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So what I would suggest is, could you put that in writing for us? Both, I think right now our brains are a little tired for it,
Sure.
but it would literally help to have it in black and white. And because this happens twice every 7 years, so it's going to happen again next year. The 4th of July is on a Sunday. So this is not frequent, but regularly occurring, and it'd be nice to have some established guidelines.
I agree. And it happens with other days like Christmas.
Or Christmas, yeah.
And,
There's, yeah.
it doesn't happen with Thanksgiving because that's always a Thursday and a Friday, but.
Yeah.
Other
Okay.
than that, I have no more comments.
Okay. Any other comments? Who's ready to go home? Yeah. All right. Thank you all. A very productive night. Much appreciated. Good. John's going to go get a scooter.
You're fine.
Oops.